This is Atomic Shinobi, and today I'm going to narrate third and final part of What If Naruto Was the Last Saiyan of the Universe. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
In an attempt to regroup, Naruto took a step back and was struck in the head by a 2x4. The 2x4 broke on contact with his head rather than causing excruciating pain. When Naruto turned to face the perpetrator, his eyes widened in shock. As Naruto put it, now that wasn't nice. The man was kneed in the face by Naruto, who leapt into the air. Naruto saw one of the other bandits swinging a mace at him as he descended. After landing, Naruto used the man he had kneed in the face to block the mace by grabbing him. After he took the blow, Naruto dropped him and used the mace to punch the man in the stomach and chest before hitting him with an uppercut to the chin that knocked him down. Two of the bandits grabbed Naruto. Naruto began thrashing and moving as soon as he felt their hands on him, doing everything he could to shake the jerks off of him. One of the two remaining bandits moved forward and began punching him in the chest before he could do so. Before he took action, Naruto took 4 blows to the chest and 1 to the face. Naruto concentrated on his arms with his Yuki. Demons have excellent control over demonic Yuki, which is one of its many wonderful qualities. Not so much for others. For instance, Naruto gave Sasuke Kurama's Yuki during their battle at the Genin selection tournament. Sasuke's entire body was paralyzed as his system attempted to rid itself of the demonic Yuki that had contaminated it. Naruto made the decision to repeat the same action. Naruto pushed the Yuki out of his arms and into the bandit's grasp. Naruto leapt into the air as the bandits' bodies locked up, then simultaneously kicked them both in the chest. Naruto dashed at one of the 2 remaining bandits as he landed. Naruto sprinted at the final one after jumping over the previous one. Naruto felt a searing pain shoot up his spine before he could reach the final one. Naruto was rushing toward the bandit one moment, and then he was on his hands and knees, clenching his teeth and snarling in agony. Well, what do we have here? It seems the little fox doesn't like having his tail pulled. Ha ha! Exclaimed the bandit who was holding his tail. The bandit exerted as much force as he could on Naruto's tail. The bandit continued to tug on Naruto's back, causing him to roll onto his back. Reiki sword! Cried Naruto as he turned his hand to face the bandit tugging at his tail. Naruto swiftly pointed a Reiki sword at the bandit and thrust it through his throat, causing it to materialize in his hands. As Naruto hurried to his feet and pursued the final bandit, the bandit let his tail fly. The bandit attempted to use a hammer to strike Naruto across the face as he approached him, but Naruto deflected the blow with his left forearm. Observing that the man's defenses were down, Naruto flexed his left hand before slicing the man's chest with his claws, causing the man's skin to tear in 5 deep gouges. When Naruto turned to face the bandit leader, he saw that the young girl was between them. "I'll kill her if you make a move," declared the bandit leader. As the man put a knife to a young girl's throat, Naruto squinted at him. He was sickened by people like him. They obtained what they wanted by using defenseless bystanders as leverage. Naruto believed that the world would be a much better place if sick jerks like that would simply die, even though he felt that he shouldn't think that way. No, don't die. Taking them all, making them endure what they caused to others, cremating them, and burying their ashes in an unmarked grave would be preferable. Before they were sent to hell, they deserved to experience the closest thing to hell on earth. Naruto was unaware that he was generating and disclosing killing intent while he was thinking this. Subconsciously, Naruto aimed the murderous intent at the man who was holding the girl. Naruto began to have hallucinations as the man met his gaze. He began to witness his own mutilation, humiliation, and terrible ordeals. And the boy he was staring at was the one who was torturing him. He had just referred to the same boy as an after-school special. He eventually passed out because the mental horrors were too great for him. The young girl screamed, "Daddy!" and fled from the bandit as the man fell to the ground. The other hostages began to rise as the man seized his daughter in a bear hug and clung to her like a lifeline. They looked closely at Naruto as they got to their feet. Naruto initially noticed that some of their faces were filled with fear. However, their expressions changed to ones of respect and gratitude when they understood that he had saved him and not hurt them. Initially, nobody moved. However, the young girl escaped her father's hold and rushed towards him. After giving him a hug, she said, "Thank you, Foxy.kun." Naruto would have been furious at that moniker if she hadn't been a cute little girl. But because she was so cute, all he could do was smile, stoop, and give her a hug in return. That appeared to be the signal for everyone to approach Naruto and express gratitude for his assistance. The girl eventually squealed, "Kawaii," when she saw his tail while he was shaking hands with the hostage's de facto leader. Naruto felt a sharp pain shoot up his spine and fell to his knees as she grabbed his tail and began to hug it. The girl blushed in embarrassment when she realized what her hug was doing to Naruto, and she apologized and released him. Turning to face the leader of the hostage, Naruto asked, "How did this happen exactly?" The individual replied, "We're all part of a traveling circus. We were on our way to the Fire Country capital when these bandits came and ambushed us. They captured us and they wanted our bank account number. They've had us here for the past day trying to torture it out of us." Naruto replied, "You won't have to worry about any of these people anymore. Just stay in here until I come back out to get you." Naruto left the room after the man nodded. While leaving the room, Naruto noticed that the individuals there were seizing the bandits' weapons that he had incapacitated. When Naruto left the building, he discovered that the guards were still absent. During that moment, Naruto hurried into the shadows. Naruto pointed his Reiki gun at another building from the shadows and destroyed it. The building caught fire as his Reiki gun attack detonated close to it. Naruto made a Reiki sword in his hand and hurried them as people began to move to extinguish the fire. The bandits who stood in his way were swiftly slashed and killed. As Naruto continued to eliminate bandits, the others became aware of the situation and began attacking him in large numbers. Naruto swiftly cut open the bandit's stomach as he ducked under one of the bandit's attacks, sending the bandit tumbling to the ground. Hurrying forward, Naruto leapt into the air and kicked the closest bandit in the face. They attempted to leap Naruto, but the half-demon easily pushed them away from him. Naruto was blowing through their entire force with ease when his arm began to ache sharply. He noticed an arrow passing through his arm. Looking up at the rooftops, Naruto saw no one. Then there was a whistling sound in the air. Naruto heard it and turned quickly, but he was hit by an arrow in the chest. The bandits on the rooftops emerged from hiding with their bows and arrows almost in unison. Naruto had to seek shelter when they began shooting at him. He hurried to hide in the alleyway between two of the bandit camp's buildings. As the bandits searched for a new angle from which to shoot him, the arrows appeared to stop suddenly. After hearing the faint whistling, Naruto decided it was safe to take a break. 2 seconds prior, Naruto's head was struck by an arrow, and he immediately began to run. When Naruto turned to face the rooftops, he saw the bandits running alongside him while simultaneously hurling arrows at him. Naruto was searching for a way out of the alley while he ran. Naruto had his way out after examining the items and ledges in the alley. Hurrying over to a dumpster, Naruto leapt on top of it. Naruto then leapt 10 feet into the air and grabbed a window ledge. Naruto shot himself 10 feet higher as he swiftly pulled himself up. Naruto placed his feet on the building as he reached the peak of his leap and pushed off, backflipping through the air until he arrived at the building on the other side of the alley. Naruto then pushed off after planting his feet on the structure, landing on the first building's roof. Naruto could see the archers approaching and grabbing their quiver from there. Naruto was fortunate to have one nearby, as the others were farther away. The nearest archer was swiftly pursued by Naruto, who leapt through the air as the archer fired. Naruto landed on top of the archer after making a leap. The other archers were preparing to fire when Naruto looked up, so he lifted the unconscious one and used him as a shield to deflect the other shots. "Spirit shot!" was yelled by a voice that suspiciously sounded like Naruto's own as he was deciding how to handle the other archers. Numerous archers were eliminated when the black ball of energy exploded on a building's roof. Naruto saw himself standing in Super Saiyan, his palms still smoking from the attack that had just erupted, as he looked up to see where the attack had come from. Naruto, a Super Saiyan, swiftly descended to begin eliminating a large number of the archers. Knowing that a single, fortunate blow would defeat the Shadow Clone, Demon Naruto made the decision to assist. Demon Naruto fell on all fours to the ground, actually, the roof, and began running in the direction of the other archers. His demon form was quicker on all fours than on 2 legs, he mentally noted for later use. Naruto leapt swiftly from the structure he was on to the nearest archer's building. Naruto witnessed the bandit attempt to line up a shot on him as he descended from his leap. However, Super Saiyan Naruto hit it with a ki blast from behind before it could fire the shot. Several of the archers were firing at Super Saiyan Naruto as Demon Naruto landed. Therefore, the demonic child made a Reiki sword and made it 10 feet long. After sprinting ahead, Naruto swung the sword and sliced through a large number of the archers. Super Saiyan Naruto immediately began storing energy in his palm as the archers aimed for Demon Naruto. After forming, a black orb grew exponentially in size. With a shout of "Spirit Shot 10x," SSJ Naruto swiftly turned his hand to the archers and let go of the attack. Many of the archers were killed in the attack, which also totally destroyed the building's roof. As the other archers began to retreat, SSJ Naruto swiftly dispatched ki blasts at each of their backs, eliminating them. Demon Naruto approached SSJ Naruto as he touched down and asked, "Where are the other clones?" Super Saiyan, the clone, replied, "The others are still in the forests like you asked. The only reason I came was because you looked like you needed help." The clone replied with a nod. "Thanks. As a matter of fact, tell the clones to move in and take out the bandits in here. But do not mess with that," points to the building with the hostages, "building. It has innocent people in it." With a nod, the clone said, "I'll get right on it." The clone then flew into the air to inform its brothers of the new strategy. When Naruto turned to face the ground, he saw what appeared to be every bandit in the fucking camp making their way to where he was. With a loud sigh, Naruto charged the bandits. In 2 words, Naruto would characterize that battle as vicious and bloody. He was more powerful than any one bandit, but there were nearly 100 of them. Naruto attempted to eliminate the bandits in a covert manner, but he was too frequently spotted. His charging in guns blazing strategy worked for a while, but one of the bandits took a solid blow to the lower back, which partially struck his tail and nearly killed him. They then struck his leg with a powerful blow, injuring it. Following that, they were able to hit Naruto with increasing ease, weakening him. Naruto was bleeding and encircled by bandits at the end of the night. Before the cavalry arrived, he nearly lost. In this instance, the cavalry consisted of his Super Saiyan clones. The battle swiftly shifted in Naruto's favor after the warriors were added. As it airlifted the real Naruto out of the bandit pile, one of the clones began pelting the bandits with ki blasts. Naruto heard 2 distinct voices exclaim, "Konoha cannon," almost immediately after that clone became visible. Destructive beams of green ki were fired from 2 opposing sides of the bandits. Like a hot knife through butter, the attacks sliced through the bandit swarm. Many of the other bandits were taken with them when they exploded as they met. While the other clones began to fight the bandits, one clone continued to watch the real Naruto. The strategy worked, but they were forced to use primarily long-range attacks. All of the bandits were either dead or unconscious when the sun rose at 6 in the morning. As he and the other clones began sorting the bandits into the living and the dead, Naruto launched a few of his clones into the air to serve as lookouts. He concealed the dead so the hostages couldn't see them. A civilian who hadn't been desensitized to the carnage left over from last night's battles would be traumatized. To prevent them from moving, the unconscious bandits were all fastened to poles or buildings. He hoped the hostages would call someone to come and arrest the remaining bandits. All of the bandits had been hidden or bound by 8 a.m. One of Naruto's clones in the sky descended just as he was ready to free the hostages from the building, saying, "We spotted some people making their way to the compound. We couldn't identify them from so far away, but they don't seem to be with these bandits." Naruto instructed his clone to update him. As the minutes passed, he was informed that a group of Konoha Junin were approaching him. He was apparently closer to Konoha than he had believed. In fact, they came to investigate after spotting the glow from the previous night's fires. After swiftly removing the hostages from the building, Naruto informed them that the bandits had left. He hurried out of there before he was discovered, telling them about the Junin who would assist them. He didn't want to reveal his demonic form just yet, even though the Junin approaching were his allies. Naruto swiftly fled in the other direction from the Junin. He changed back to normal while traveling, and then he became a Super Saiyan. He noticed that he didn't recognize any of the scenery as he flew over it. His presumption from the previous evening was right. Naruto struck himself in the head as the realization hit him. He made a mistake last night when he left the Hokage's tower. Naruto thought, "Damn, that harpy Sakura is right," as he came to this realization. "I'm a baka." After a swift flight to Konoha, Naruto headed down the road to Juahachi town. If he had wanted to, Naruto could have pushed himself to reach Juahachi town in an hour, but that would have taken a lot of energy, and he was already exhausted from the banditry. Naruto arrived in Juahachi town in 2 hours flat by flying there at a comfortable speed. With Shino and Kurenai, Juahachi town, 10 a.m. Kurenai and Shino had just arrived in Juahachi town. Both of them were alert for the opposition that Shino's bug had warned them about as they stepped inside. But when they searched, they couldn't find anything. This gave them absolutely no comfort. When they lowered their defenses, the enemy might be waiting. So, ever since they entered the town, they were tense. They mingled with the crowd, watching closely for anyone who might be a threat. "Excuse me, ma'am. Have you seen any other Konoha ninja around here?" Kurenai approached a woman on the street. The woman looked at Kurenai and said, "Now why the hell would you ask me about those bast?" Her words were lost in her mouth. Kurenai's forehead Konoha headband, mostly. "Leaf ninja. They're right here," exclaimed the woman. "Get them." screamed another man. Before Kurenai and Shino could ask themselves, what the hell just happened? They were surrounded by Juahachi Town residents. With Naruto. Juahachi Town, 10 a.m., Naruto began flying toward his friend's last location as soon as he landed. He noticed a disturbance while he was traveling. He looked down to see the people of Juahachi Town swarming and attacking Shino and Kurenai. Before anything negative could occur, Naruto made the decision to put an end to it. He fell to the ground and commanded Shino and Kurenai to do the same. He flared his aura as they did, causing a shockwave to send the people to the ground. Before anyone could recognize him, Naruto swiftly seized Shino and Kurenai and took off. He dropped Shino and Kurenai off at his friend's hiding place in a hurry. Naruto went to the warehouse and knocked on the door after landing. The door flew open as he did, and Hinata rushed into his arms. Her words were, "I missed you." "It goes without saying, but I missed you too," Naruto remarked. Kurenai whispered, "Just what are we, chopped liver?" as she noticed that they were embracing. "Oh yeah," Shino remarked mockingly, "we're fine. We weren't attacked by a village full of crazy people or anything." "Sorry about that. But come on in," Hinata said, turning to face them. Neji and Lee were sparring lightly in the warehouse when she led them inside. Since they might need their energy to fight later, they were unable to do much. On the opposite side of the warehouse, Tenten was hurling her weapons and striking targets. She secretly sighed with relief as Naruto appeared. She followed suit when she noticed that the other members of her team were approaching Naruto. She said, "Naruto-kun, how is Guy? Sensei?" when she got to him. Naruto replied, "Don't worry, I got him home in time. The doctor said that he was fine. He'll make a full recovery. For now, let's concentrate on getting the bastards that put him in the hospital in the first place." The teams nodded. Then Tenten said, "Before you try and rush in guns blazing, you should know something. Yesterday, I went out to hear what was going on around town, and they said that they put up another wanted poster. They don't know the names of the people on the wanted poster, but I'm pretty sure that it's supposed to be you and Hinata." Tenten retrieved a rolled up piece of paper from her pouch. Hinata and Naruto were both on the cover when she took it out. Not exactly them, anyway. Hinata's hair was entirely black in the photo, but it's actually more of a dark blue. Additionally, Naruto's nose was slightly off in the photo. His nose was narrower and more crooked than the pictures, as though he were a stereotypical villain. The caption beneath their names read, "Wanted for questioning about the destruction of the Kuroi Getsu Hotel." Naruto sighed and replied, "Meh, I knew it would happen sooner or later. I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the day, Shino and Kurenai. Sensei's faces aren't added to those posters also. But onto other matters, I'm starving. What kind of food we got to eat here?" Neji responded, "We don't really have much. We weren't expecting to be on the run." Naruto stated, "In the picture, they have me in my normal state. If I stay in my Super Saiyan state, they won't be able to recognize me. I'll try and pick us up some stuff." According to Neji, "Super what?" After realizing his error, Naruto remarked, "When my eyes turn green and my hair turns blonde." Neji responded, "You finally settled for a name for that?" After giving a nod, Naruto made a list of everything they required. Naruto then went to get it. Looking down an alleyway on his way home, he saw these people in black pants and red shirts roughing up this poor helpless man. Naruto chose to step in rather than simply go about his business. He hurried down the alley after dropping his grocery bags. When he arrived, he seized two Privern members and smashed their heads together. Naruto leapt up and kicked both of them in the head before the other two could respond. Naruto turned to face the man they were roughing up as the bodies fell. "Are you okay, sir?" he asked, helping the man stand up. The individual replied, "Yeah, thanks to you. I can't thank you enough for helping me, young man." "It was nothing, but what were those guys messing with you for anyway?" Naruto said with a smile. "They thought I knew where those Konoha ninjas were," the man said. With a curious expression on his face, Naruto asked, "Why would they think that?" The individual replied, "It's because I don't believe they blew that building up. They could have, but the fire was started by a ninja. With ninjas being the masters of stealth that they are, there could be 1,000 ninja in this town and we could possibly be ignorant of it. There's simply not enough evidence to convince me. And because I don't think they did, they thought I must have been helping them." With a nod, Naruto wished the man a pleasant day. After turning a corner into a dead end, Naruto started running, heading straight for the warehouse where their team was stationed. When he got there, he told everyone they were being sawed by the Privern. The others did not really respond to the news, despite the fact that it was bad. What difference does a few more make when the civilians were already hunting them? Kurenai replied, "Okay team. We need to continue where Team Guy left off." We have to find a member of Rodrigo Boruja's gang and get them to tell us where their base is. As soon as that's done, we can capture him and use him to clear our names. Now, we need to get out there and find them. While we're out there, I want everyone to always be near at least one other member person. I don't want any of you getting hurt. Your first order is to come back alive, not kill yourself for an informant, understand? The genin instantly gave a nod. Well then, get disguised and get out there, Kurenai said with a smile. Juahachi Town, 8 p.m. The genin came home a few hours later. They had nothing. The last time Team Guy had come close to obtaining an informant, it appeared to have alarmed the other Privaran. They now only went in groups of 4 or more. The Privaran were hardly out anymore, either. The ones that Naruto happened upon appeared to be among the few that were permitted to leave. The group decided to get some early rest and start over in the morning after returning to the warehouse with nothing. Kurenai offered himself up to work the first shift. While she watched, Naruto fell asleep. Then, half an hour later, chaos ensued. There was a loud bang that woke Naruto. Kurenai's head was moving from side to side, searching for trouble, and when he snapped awake, he noticed that his fellow shinobi were also waking up. They heard a bang again, then they heard someone else. They noticed that the warehouse's main door, which they had locked, had a huge dent in it. As each bang occurred, the dent grew larger. And finally, with the last bang, the door had a huge hole. A huge crowd of people in various red shirts and black pants entered through the door. That told the shinobi that the individuals entering were Privaran members. One of the members opened the door they had punched in to allow the others to enter more quickly as they were lining up. The shinobi prepared as soon as the Privaran began to pour in. Neji and Hinata activated their Byakugan, Tenten produced a staff, Lee dropped his weights, Shino assumed a fighting stance, and Naruto boosted his normal form power output to its highest level. Both Naruto and Hinata exposed their bare palms to the gangbangers as the Privaran members approached. By their palm, black spheres of energy began to form. They shouted, "Spirit shot," when the orbs were large enough. The black spheres exploded from their grasp and collided with the Privaran's crowd. In addition to kicking up a smokescreen, the orbs released a flash of light as they exploded. Dozens of kunai arrived through the light, smashed into the Privaran, and killed its members. However, they continued to arrive despite the key attacks and kunai reducing their numbers. Lee, Hinata, and Neji all rushed forward to engage the Privaran members in combat. Tenten and Naruto remained behind to pepper the gang with long-range attacks, while Shino unleashed his bugs to exhaust them. One of the Privaran punched Hinata, who charged the group and ducked under it. After paralyzing him with 3 Juken strikes, she proceeded to the others. Neji was standing next to her, keeping an eye on her. When one of the Privaran members attempted to harm her, Neji was able to quickly render them unconscious with a palm strike to the chest or paralyze them with Juken strikes. Lee charged forward and screamed, "Leaf Hurricane!" as the 2 Hyuga left a trail of paralyzed bodies in their wake. Lee's assault rendered all Privaran unconscious. They were able to easily eliminate the Privaran while it was happening, but they appeared to have no end in sight. They heard someone shout, "Fire style! Grand Fireball Jutsu!" as they were attacking. A huge ball of fire appeared out of the shadows. The assault rushed toward Lee, Neji, and Hinata. Neji turned to Lee and shouted, "Lee, move," before it could reach them. The fact that Lee vanished from Neji's view was the only indication that Lee heard Neji. Realizing what they would have to do, Neji turned to Hinata, and both of them nodded. They both began to spin, rapidly accelerating as they released chakra from each of their body's chakra nodes. They both shouted, "Hakesho Kaden," as they increased the chakra output. The ball of fire was easily knocked away by the whirling orbs of chakra. Given that they had only learned about the attack a week prior and had not had time to perfect it, Hinata and Neji were both a little lightheaded as they emerged from it. When Naruto fell in front of the teenagers with his sword in front of him, the Privaran stopped trying to strike them. "What are you waiting for? It's just some dumb kid. Who cares if he's a demon spawn? He can't possibly take all of you. Attack!" was said by the same person who launched the Grand Fireball just as the Privaran were about to stop. The Privaran appeared to be persuaded to charge forward by that. While listening to the man talk, Naruto began to ponder after hearing the phrase, "demon spawn." Unfortunately, the Privaran charged him, forcing him to drop that line of thought. After swiftly avoiding a member's punch, Naruto leapt forward and stabbed the man in the stomach. Just in time to avoid a blow from one of the Privaran, Naruto drew his sword. Subsequently, Naruto sliced his arm before twisting and kicking the man with his heel. One of the Privaran attempted to strike Naruto with a tiny pipe, but Naruto swiftly cut through it and then struck the man in the stomach with his knee. Naruto caused the man to tremble in agony before striking him in the head with the pommel of his sword. Naruto swiftly flipped back and struck him in the chin with the toe of his sandal as one of them attempted to attack him. Then Naruto stepped forward and slashed the man's chest. Both Hinata and Neji joined the battle to support Naruto as the Privarin began to retreat. With ease, they began to drive the Privarin away. Naruto slashed at the Privarin on both sides, but before he could kill one of them, a man wearing a black cloak stepped forward and used a broadsword to block the blow. Gritting his teeth, Naruto drew his sword and struck once more. Naruto continued to strike, but the man easily blocked the blow and easily met each blow. Naruto.kun. That man was the one who stopped us from getting information from one of the Privarin a few days ago. Lee exclaimed as they engaged in combat. Naruto gave a nod and continued his assault. Unfortunately, he and the man were on equal footing. The man could easily overcome Naruto's defenses because he was clearly more skilled than Naruto. When he did, Naruto's reaction time was quicker, allowing him to avoid the man's blows. "Follow me to your death, if you have the balls to, demon," the man finally exclaimed. "I grow tired of fighting here." The cloaked man leapt to his feet and hurried out of the warehouse. Naruto took off and followed him before anyone could stop him. A mile outside of town, Naruto trailed the man into a remote clearing. "Why did you draw me out here, Kazuya?" asked Naruto as he landed. Laughing, the man in the cloak said, "So you found out who I am, huh? Good." Then Kazuya tossed off the cloak. Wearing a black Junin flak jacket that lacked the Uzumaki spiral on the back, Kazuya stood there. His red shirt was visible beneath his open jacket. He was dressed in sandals and black shinobi pants. Kazuya replied, "Now I can kill you without that stupid cloak on." "What makes you think you can defeat me?" asked Naruto, squinting at Kazuya. Kazuya responded, "Don't sound so high and mighty, you damn demon. I know I can defeat you with one hand tied behind my back, but just in case you tried some demon trickery, I decided to enlist some help." One man and one woman emerged from the tree line. The man's black hair was short and spiky. On his left cheek, he had a tattoo of an 8-point star. He wore black earrings and a black stud on the right side of his nose. He had a tanto in its sheath by his side. Black gauze was wrapped around the handle. The man's expression was manic. The woman appeared as though she had just stepped out of a model magazine, while the man appeared as though he had just emerged from an insane asylum. The woman's hair was long and white, reaching her tailbone. Her skin was alabaster, her cheekbones were high, and her lips were full of red. Naruto could see her attractive legs and, at the very least, her D-cup breasts because she was dressed in a green battle kimono that hung down to her mid-thigh. The woman's eyes were her most exotic feature. Naruto appeared to be enchanted by her captivating amethyst eyes. The man continued, "So boy, we meet again. Maybe this time, I'll finally be able to cut you up and leave a mark." Naruto seemed to feel sick to his stomach when the woman simply smiled at him. She responded with, "Hello, Naruto.kun. It's so nice to see you again." Kazuya began to giggle and replied, "Haha, look at the boy. He's ogling you like some horny teenager. Obviously, all those years of prison haven't diminished your seduction skills. Huh, Sakuya? Maybe me and you should put those skills of yours to the test sometime?" Sakuya looked at Naruto after sneering at Kazuya and saying, "As if I would with you." Naruto felt like a deer staring into a lioness's hungry eyes at her current gaze, but at her first one, he wanted to do things with her that wouldn't exactly allow the author to keep this story T-rated. In a voice Naruto had never heard before, Sakuya remarked, "I like my men stronger, with more stamina, and much younger." Damn, I forgot about that little problem of hers, Kazuya thought. Why is that attractive woman a fucking pedophile? Sakuya began to approach Naruto more and more until she was standing directly beside him. Naruto would be staring straight down her dress if he chose to look down from that angle. Naruto blushed a little at the close proximity. Sakuya replied, "Would you please take me away from here to somewhere more private?" A voice in his head said, "Naruto Uzumaki, you had better back away from that tramp or so help me I'll make you watch the recording of me and your father's wedding night." Just as Naruto was about to say yes, Naruto's mind cleared of any thoughts pertaining to sex as a result of his mother's scream and the mental image that accompanied that threat. He hurriedly leapt away from Sakuya to create some space between them as he did so. "Maybe your seduction skills have dulled a bit?" asked Kazuya. Kazuya responded, "Anyway, before I was interrupted by the horny pedophile, I was about to introduce Moroku here." Moroku produced a tanto. Naruto noticed that it said, "Killer of Demons in the Moonlight." Moroku laughed and replied, "Oh, Me and little Naruto are gonna pick up right where we left off before that coughing bastard and the Hokage's son interrupted us. Well, how about we stop talking and get to fighting? Said Naruto, squinting his eyes. What makes you think you'll win? You're outnumbered 3-1, Kazuya smirked. Above them, a voice said, not quite. Hinata was there, hovering in midair. Tenten leapt out of the tree line directly behind her, landing to Naruto's right. After landing on Naruto's left, Hinata assumed a Juken fighting stance. Tenten immediately dropped into a defensive stance and executed her own Tanto to match Miroku's. Tenten replied, Naruto-kun, you take the red-haired guy. I'll take the one with the Tanto. Although Hinata remained silent, she was giving Sakuya a dagger-like glare. The look in the woman's eyes told her that she was all bad news, even though she wasn't present to witness the entire conversation. Hinata vanished from Naruto's side and reappeared with her index fingers protruding at the spot where Sakuya's throat had been before either Naruto or Tenten could move. When Sakuya noticed Hinata attempting to strike her, she leapt back to avoid the blow. A concealed 4-inch blade emerged as Sakuya sprang forward and shifted her wrist. She cut Hinata's stomach with that blade. She barely nicked Hinata, causing a tiny drop of blood to fall. The battle appeared to begin in that line. Tenten sprinted towards Miroku and slashed his throat, revealing himself. Miroku kicked Tenten in the stomach after deftly blocking the blow with his own Tanto. Tenten swiftly twisted her Tanto into a reverse grip and used the Tanto to smack Miroku's fist away as Miroku withdrew his empty hand and aimed it at Tenten's head. Tenten attempted another slash at Miroku, landing a minor nick on his chest as the latter clutched his hand in agony. With a smile, Miroku remarked, maybe this will actually be a bit challenging. Miroku was prepared when Tenten charged at him once more. Miroku swiftly ducked down and lightly cut Tenten's leg before she could hop back after he saw her attempt to slit his neck. Tenten was fortunate to have a shallow cut that did not impair her ability to walk. However, Miroku didn't let her go so easily. The insane ninja was on her as soon as Tenten leapt back. Tenten returned the blows, and Miroku began to slash at him. Miroku responded, it seems that we're at a stalemate. We're both evenly skilled when it comes to a Tanto. Then Miroku reached behind his back and threw his Tanto to the ground. Tenten ran forward after realizing he had no protection. In an attempt to increase the force of her swing and finish this match in one shot, she drew back her Tanto. A weapon effortlessly blocked her Tanto as she advanced it. Then she was stabbed in the forearm with a mirror image of the same weapon. With a scream, Tenten instinctively released her Tanto. Leaping back, she examined the man's weapons. The weapon's handles were comparatively short, just long enough for Miroku to hold them in both hands. With the middle prong longer than the others, it resembled a triangular fork. When Tenten recognized them, she frowned. Sigh. Why had it to be Sigh? Damn it. The only weapon I haven't mastered yet is them. Tenten drew out two kunai, her frown still on her face. She rushed forward and began to slash at Miroku, but Miroku didn't seem to be amenable to that. When he saw her pushing him back, he began to block her strikes. Miroku easily intercepted the adolescent girl's kunai between the prongs of his sai because his pride would not allow him to back down from her. He turned his wrist rapidly, sending the kunai flying. He knelt down and attempted to stab her in the stomach with the sai as his kunai flew. Tenten saw the impending attack and leapt back, but not before the sai's middle prong slightly pierced her abdomen. When the wound began to bleed, Tenten touched it. She saw Miroku on her once more before she could do anything about it. He seemed eager to get that battle over with. As Miroku's attacks began to approach more closely, Tenten began to retreat. Miroku lightly nicked her once more before she could attempt to defend herself. He kicked her as hard as he could in the chest this time, though, and she flew back into a tree trunk. Miroku was standing over Tenten, his sai poised to stab her as she fell to the ground. As the sai came down, Tenten could only watch in horror. With Hinata, the white-haired seductress gave Hinata a slight nick, but she rushed forward and unleashed another round of Juken strikes. Sakuya avoided the blows, making it appear as though it was easy. Sakuya attempted to swing the blade at Hinata once more, but Hinata swiftly hit her in the palm, causing Sakuya to pull her hand back in agony. Hinata leapt and spun as she did, using the heel of her foot to strike Sakuya in the temple. Sakuya fell to the ground after being knocked off her feet. With a death glare, Hinata charged forward and continued to hit Sakuya. After attempting to defend Sakuya with a feint, Hinata struck Sakuya in the stomach with a genuine Juken palm strike. Once more, the woman was thrown to the ground. Hurrying forward, Hinata leapt into the air. She extended her leg to hit Sakuya with it as she began to fall. As Sakuya stepped aside and effortlessly stabbed Hinata with her concealed blade, her foot slammed into the floor. After Hinata screamed in agony, Sakuya withdrew the blade and stabbed her once more. In a remarkable display of strength, Hinata seized Sakuya and threw her 10 feet away. Sakuya stood up and said, well, it looks like the little Hyuga decided to finally grow a backbone. You know, I saw you around the village all the time when you were a little girl. How you would always run away from the smallest of things, always cower behind your dear old daddy, like a coward. It was so pathetic. Hinata clasped her hands together and squinted. She began to pull her hands apart as they began to glow yellow. A yellow thread of energy ran between Hinata's palms as she tore them apart. Hinata moved her hands as though she were holding back the string of a real bow, and the yellow string transformed into a bow. Hinata replied, well, I guess I'll just have to show you what this little Hyuga can do. Spirit arrow. An arrow of energy blasted out, and Hinata released the string. The arrow flew past Sakuya and struck a tree behind her, and she was just able to move out of the way in time. Sakuya continued to dodge as Hinata fired more and more shots at her. Sakuya swung her arm at Hinata after dodging out of the way. It wasn't until the moonlight briefly glinted on the senbon that Hinata noticed it soaring through the air. Hinata swiftly cut the bow's power and shifted her hand out of the way of the senbon, which was headed straight for her eye. Her hand was completely penetrated by the senbon. Hinata's hand was stabbed through, and she let out a painful scream. Sakuya witnessed the event and responded, wow, you're pretty quick. Few people have ever been able to dodge a senbon from my senbon launcher. But it looks like it hit you still. That's too bad. Naruto.koi will be Sue alone with his little puppy love crush in the hospital. Wait, I have an idea. Maybe while you're holed up in the hospital, I'll show him exactly what a real woman can do. By the time I'm through with him, he won't even remember your whoa. Sakuya had to jump sideways to avoid a white ball of energy, which interrupted her. The Heaven's Wrath attack detonated a moment later. Sakuya turned to see Hinata standing where the attack had come from. Even though the wind was not nearly as strong, Hinata's hair was blowing in it. Her eyes, which are normally lavender, seemed to glow with an unidentified power. The air surrounding Hinata seemed to get heavier, and as it rose to a certain height, tiny dust particles began to rise off the ground and disintegrate, though Sakuya was too far away to notice. Finally, Hinata's body was radiating a fiery blue aura. Sakuya knew very little about Hinata, but she was aware that the girl was furious. Stay away from Naru.kun, spirit shot, Hinata said, extending the palm of her unhurt hand. A black orb blasted forward from Hinata's hand. Sakuya barely escaped it before it moved. Sakuya shot a senbon at the location of the spirit shot with a swing of her arm, but it only struck air. Sakuya searched everywhere but was unable to locate the blue net. Sakuya turned around after hearing a muffled, painful grunt behind her and saw Hinata holding her injured hand with the senbon removed. With her eyes closed, Hinata exclaimed, mystical palm jutsu. As Hinata grasped her injured hand, a green aura encircled her uninjured hand. Sakuya could see Hinata's hand healing as the green energy flowed into it. Hinata swiftly swooped out of the way as Sakuya fired another senbon. Hinata continued to dodge Sakuya's senbon shots as he continued to fire them. After finally giving up on fully healing her hand, Hinata flew in Sakuya's direction. Sakuya kept firing senbon at Hinata, but Hinata quickly noticed and snatched them out of the air. Sakuya continued to shoot senbon with her arm until she heard a click. As she glanced at the arm concealing her senbon launcher, she muttered, damn, out of ammo. Hinata landed behind Sakuya after vanishing from her initial position. Hinata extended her arm fully, exposing her palm against Sakuya's shirt back. After clenching her thumb and fingers, Hinata withdrew her arm. 8 trigrams. Air palm, she exclaimed. Hinata pushed her hand forward, striking Sakuya in the back with a compact chakra concentration. Sakuya let out a painful scream and passed out. Hinata sighed and collapsed to the floor. In an attempt to catch her, she placed her hands behind her, but a sharp pain shot up her hand, sending her flying. I forgot. My hand hasn't healed yet. Most likely won't return to normal for some time. And I was twice stabbed in the stomach by that awful woman. Furthermore, now is not the time to relax. 2 adversaries are still present. Hinata turned to watch Naruto fight. He appeared to be fending off Kazuya quite effectively. Despite a few minor wounds, Naruto was largely competing with Kazuya. As Hinata turned to face Miroku and Tenten, she saw Tenten get kicked in the stomach and collide with a tree. That man. Stealing Tramp is finally getting what she deserves, Hinata thought. However, Naru.kun will never forgive me if I allow her to suffer harm. Oh no, Love can be so difficult at times. When Hinata noticed Moroku standing over Tenten, she realized she needed to take immediate action. Hinata united her hands and used her energy to form a bow. Hinata fired an arrow, aiming for Moroku's stomach. With Tenten watched as the sai got closer to her abdomen. I wish I could have at least gotten some time to know what it was like to have a nice boyfriend like Naruto-kun, she thought as she closed her eyes. However, she heard Moroku mutter, "Shit," and then leap back, before the sai struck her. A yellow arrow went through his initial position as he leapt back. Hinata ran to where she was standing, and Tenten saw her opportunity and leapt back up. Tenten knew she was alive because of Hinata after she looked at her. With a hasty, "Thanks," Tenten reached behind her and picked up a scroll. She returned the scroll to its original location after opening a bow staff. She looked at Hinata and replied, "I know that you hate me right now, and to be honest, I don't care all that much. I need your help to beat him. Will you help me?" "You're right, I do hate you," Hinata said. "But if I allowed something to happen to you, Naruto-kun would never forgive me." Hinata's next statement, "But just because I'm helping you with this doesn't mean that I'm gonna just let you steal my boyfriend," had a hint of sarcasm. Tenten gave Hinata a disbelieving look and remarked, "You want to argue about boy problems when there's someone in front of us trying to kill us? This discussion will take place later." Tenten swung the bow staff at the insane knife wielder, but Moroku leaned back to avoid the blow, and Tenten quickly swung the staff around to hit the man on the left side of his head. This time, Moroku ducked under the blow and attempted to stab Tenten in the stomach, but the blow failed due to the bow staff's extended reach, and as it hit nothing but air, Tenten spun and swung the bow staff out, trying to take off Moroku's head. He dropped to the ground to avoid the blow, then popped back up to his feet and tried to stab Tenten again, but Tenten jumped over him. When she leapt over him, Hinata released an arrow and struck the man in the arm, causing him to drop one of the sai he was carrying. Tenten then rushed forward and began swinging her bow staff at him, pushing him back farther and farther. Since he was not at his best without his second sai, Tenten was able to push him back, and as he did so, he attempted to stab her again, but Tenten ducked under the blow and struck him in the shin, causing him to yell in agony. He was forced to favor one leg, which wasn't exactly helpful when Hinata shot him in his good leg, causing him to fall to the ground. Tenten nodded to Hinata and thanked her in silence as Moroku fell to the ground. With Naruto, the half-demon was matching Kazuya blow for blow throughout the entire match, and it appeared that Naruto and Kazuya were evenly matched, that is, until Kazuya chose to use jutsu, just like in the warehouse. "You like tricks, don't you, demon?" Kazuya said, putting down his sword as he kicked Naruto in the chest and knocked him away. "Let's see how you feel about this one. I discovered this just before I was jailed by that green-clad jerk and his Cyclops buttfucker. Jutsu Shadow Clone. Those other whores of yours might be able to survive against Sakuya and Moroku, but you won't survive," Kazuya said as three more of her appeared in a puff of smoke, each brandishing a giant broadsword. "One of us was hardly able to keep up with you. With 4 good copies of me, how are you going to keep up?" "Like this," Naruto said with a sly smile at Kazuya. "Jutsu Shadow Clone." Kazuya stumbled out, How? Naruto made 3 clones, 1 for each of the Kazuya Shadow clones. "I trained for years before I could make 3. You haven't worked on this technique nearly as much as I have." "Maybe I'm just better than you," Naruto grinned. While his clones fought, Naruto rushed forward to fight Kazuya. He ducked under Kazuya's broadsword and punched him in the stomach. As Kazuya retreated, Naruto held out his hand, and a blood-red orb of energy formed in front of it. Naruto grinned at Kazuya, who muttered, You knew it. You are a true demon. Let's see how you do against this," Naruto said. "Demon's Fury." Kazuya barely managed to jump out of the way before Naruto reappeared right next to him. He kicked Kazuya in the chin, sending him hurtling into the air, and then he flew up to where he was and kicked him down. As Kazuya hit the ground, he stretched out his fingers and tucked his thumb into his palm, focusing ki into his hand to create a yellow blade of energy. Naruto then flew down in a dive bomb towards Kazuya, shouting, "Spirit Sword." Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your point of view, Naruto's aim was off, and instead he stabbed Kazuya through the stomach. Naruto had moved his sword forward, intending to hit Kazuya in the head, but Kazuya saw where he was aiming and jumped up and ran. When he realized he was going to miss, he aimed the sword at Kazuya's head while he was running. Hinata and Tenten cheered at Kazuya's cry of agony because it seemed like victory was inevitable. Naruto landed on the ground and threw away the spirit sword, but Kazuya was still there, writhing in agony, and he began to approach him, watching the swordsman in case he attempted to take something from his sleeve. Naruto felt his foot crush something as he was walking, and when he looked down, he saw a plume of purple smoke envelop him. Inadvertently, Naruto inhaled the same poison that killed Guy as the plume of smoke covered him. Tenten and Hinata both exclaimed, "Naru.kun," as the cloud of toxic smoke engulfed Naruto. Putting aside their rivalry, the two girls hurried to Naruto's location, whereupon he screamed and flared his aura, blowing away the cloud of poison and leaving Naruto as if it had not even touched him. "You demon, you still fell into my trap," Kazuya said with a sly smile at Naruto. "Your body will now be poisoned until it reaches your heart, where it will kill you. I'll get my retribution even if I die right here." "You won't be getting your revenge anytime soon, Kazuya," Naruto said, closing his eyes and summoning Kurama's chakra, which he then pushed through his entire body, giving him the aura of a blood-red fox. "As we speak, this chakra is destroying your poison and filling my veins. I won't be leaving." The last of Kazuya's poison had been burned out of Naruto's system as he concluded his speech, but the smirk on Kazuya's face should have warned Naruto that something wasn't quite right. "Oh, you're going somewhere," Kazuya said. "Directly to hell." Something threw a gallon of red liquid at Naruto as Kazuya was shouting the last part of his statement, and when it hit him, there was a moment of silence, as if everyone was stunned, but it was broken by Naruto's horrifying scream. Around 8:30 p.m., Juahachi Town Tenten could not speak as the gallon of liquid was hurled at the object of her love. In actuality, nobody was. Until the air was filled with Naruto's agonizing, blood-curdling scream. Naruto let out that terrible cry and then fell to the ground, trembling with agony. Hinata and Tenten both shouted, "Naruto." Both of them hurried over to Naruto. They knelt down and consoled Naruto, ignoring the liquid. Tenten clung desperately to Naruto's hand as Hinata held his head in her lap. "What kind of a sick person are you?" she shouted, turning to face the monster who had given the order to dump that liquid on Naruto. Kazuya burst into laughter. He stated, "Me? A sick person? I'm not the one fucking some demon." No matter what that fool the Hokage said, I knew that that monster was just trying to get on our good side, just so it could get the sick pleasure of betraying people who trusted it. If it wasn't for your dumbass sensei and his pet Cyclops, I would have succeeded in poisoning that demon and ridding all of Konohagakure of its taint. I always knew that. As though trying to come up with a word to describe the sick, twisted abomination that lay close to Hinata and Tenten, Kazuya paused in his speech, scrunched up his face in disgust, and pointed at Naruto. He ultimately chose a phrase. Thing was nothing more than a demon in human skin. And now, I have proof. Nothing else could have reacted that horribly to that. Tenten gazed at Kazuya as though he were the embodiment of evil. She replied, "You're lucky, Naru. Kun's so hurt, otherwise I'd make you pay for what you did to him." Smirking, Kazuya remarked, "As if you could possibly hurt me." Hinata kept her face hidden from view as she spoke, looking down at Naruto the entire time. "She might not," Hinata said in a very low voice. Then Hinata raised her head and stared at Kazuya. There was no sign of anger on her face. There were no clenched teeth, no flaring nostrils, and no narrowed eyes. In fact, you would assume that she was simply stoic if you based your opinion solely on those facts. Her eyes, however, conveyed a different message. There was only hatred in Hinata's eyes. Nothing to remind someone that they were staring into the eyes of one of Konoha's happiest people. No love, no happiness. Hinata's aura erupted around her, more powerful than it had ever been. Still staring at Kazuya, Hinata uttered the words, "But I will." Hinata reappeared directly in front of Kazuya after vanishing from Naruto's side. Kazuya leapt back to avoid Hinata's right hook, which was aimed at his head. He remembered his wound as he landed, and the pain shot up his spine. He fell to his knees in agony from the terrible wound. As he attempted to stand again, Hinata shouted, "Spirit arrow," and reformed her energy bow. Even with that terrible stab wound in his stomach, Kazuya began to move as soon as Hinata hurled arrow after arrow at him. Incredibly, he managed to avoid every arrow that Hinata threw. Tenten pulled out a kunai and waited for the ideal opportunity while Hinata was shooting. Tenten had her opportunity as Kazuya began to approach the shadows. Her kunai landed in Kazuya's leg after she chucked it directly at him. As Hinata assumed a special stance, Kazuya fell to the ground in agony from the stabbing. She repositioned her right leg and spread her legs a little. She lowered her center of gravity by slightly bending her knees. She cupped them after moving her hands to her right hip. A reddish-orange ball of energy began to form between her hands as she did so. Hinata shifted her hands farther apart to make up for the orb's increasing size. The orb changed shape when it got to a certain size threshold. It became a raging firestorm compressed into an orb, rather than an orb of energy. Hinata squinted and glared at Kazuya, revealing the first hint of emotion on her face. "This is for Naruto." Fire style. Solar destruction jutsu, she said in a level voice. The orb of fire opened up and released a massive tongue of fire as Hinata thrust her hands forward. Kazuya attempted to hobble away, but the fire suddenly changed direction and began to pursue him. The fire eventually overtook him and consumed him. Still glaring at Kazuya's previous position, Tenten said, "Good riddance." Hinata briefly closed her eyes before opening them. She continued, "I can still feel his energy. He wasn't hit. Stay on your guard." Someone rushed past Hinata and Tenten and leapt through the flames before they could take any action. Kazuya was helped to his feet by that individual. "I thought I took Sakuya down," Hinata thought as she saw the individual. Sakuya seized Kazuya and fled. According to Tenten, they're getting away. "No, Tenten. We have to get Naru.kun back to the others. That's our priority for now," Hinata said before Tenten could follow them. Tenten appeared to be about to argue, but she quickly gave in when she heard Naruto grunt in agony. She wasn't shocked to see Moroku gone when she looked over to where they had left him. Tenten replied, "You're right, Hinata. We'll get them back later. For now, we have to make sure Naruto-kun's safe." Tenten took a vial from one of her scrolls and sucked up as much liquid as she could before they began to move Naruto. She noticed a brown belt around his waist just as she was ready to lift him up. After that, the belt began to move by itself. "What the hell is that?" exclaimed Tenten. Hinata replied, "We don't have time for this, we gotta help him." Then she helped Naruto stand up with Hinata's assistance. He was only 5 feet tall, but he was very heavy. Fortunately, Hinata was much stronger than she appeared. Tenten was successful in getting Naruto to return to Juahachi town with Hinata's assistance. Both of them remained silent the entire way because they were too concerned about Naruto's condition to engage in small talk. They could hear the rustle of the trees as they traveled. Before Hinata could launch an attack, she swiftly withdrew a hand and heard Neji's voice exclaim, "Whoa! Whoa! Hold your fire, Ms. Ichi. Trigger. Finger." Neji and Lee both fell from the trees down. Neji noticed that Naruto was not responding when she looked at him. Neji broke his easygoing demeanor when he noticed that Naruto appeared to be sleeping. "What happened to him?" he asked after glancing at Tenten. Tenten replied, "We don't know. Someone just threw something on him and he was knocked out." "Hinata, did you look him over with your Byakugan?" Neji asked, nodding. Hinata gave a headshake. "Not yet. We didn't have time since we had to get Naruto.kun out of there." With Lee's assistance, Neji nodded and seized Naruto. When they worked together, they were able to support Naruto more effectively than the girls could. Neji replied, "Okay, let's get him to our new place." The evacuation of their previous location didn't need to be mentioned. It's pretty clear that you may need to relocate when more than 50 enemies attack your base. The 4 of them made their way to an old house on the outskirts of the city through the trees. The house appeared to be deserted. Few people paid attention when they passed it because it was in a comparatively impoverished area of the city. For now, it was an excellent safe house. As they crammed themselves into the old location, they noticed that Shino and Kurenai were working diligently to make it at least somewhat habitable. Kurenai saw them dragging Naruto as she heard them enter the room. Then she turned to Shino and said, "Shino, clear a spot for Naruto." She muttered, "Oh my god." Kurenai went to turn on the lights while the others went to place Naruto on the ground. Fortunately for them, the building still had indoor plumbing and electricity. After they had cleared a spot, Kurenai commented, "How did he get blood on him? I know that there are barely any weapons that can cut him." Hinata replied, "Blood? That must be the stuff they dumped on him." As soon as they dumped it on him, he screamed and passed out. "Maybe now is a good time to check his system with the Byakugan," Neji said, turning to face Hinata. With a nod, Hinata triggered her Kekkei Genkei. She noticed that he had trace amounts of red chakra in his body as she did so. Though it was a different shade of red, it resembled the Kyuubi's chakra that she had previously seen in his system. She watched as the red chakra appeared to move erratically throughout his body. Additionally, it appeared to be targeting his stomach in an attempt to counteract the effects of the alcohol. Instead of continuing to search, she heard Kurenai say, "Look." After turning off her Byakugan, Hinata turned to face Kurenai's point. She noticed that Naruto's red highlights were beginning to fade and return to his natural black hair in front of her eyes. When she reactivated the Byakugan, she noticed that the red chakra appeared to be evaporating from his hair and imitating the rest of his system's movements. What could possibly be causing this? Hinata began to wonder. Naruto-kun's chakra wouldn't be flaring in this way if he had hemophobia. But how could his hair change color like that due to the chakra in his body? Perhaps he would have told me if I had been speaking to him rather than ignoring him. Naruto was learning about what was going on in his body while Hinata was thinking about it. In Naruto's mind at 8:30 p.m. Naruto was taken to his mind after flailing around on the ground in agony. Then, wondering what the hell had happened to him, Naruto got to his feet. He felt excruciating pain as though he had been struck by lightning as he took a step. Naruto felt it and let out a painful scream. He fell to his knees from the pain. Naruto attempted to leap up and move once more, but the pain sent him plummeting back down. Despite the pain, Naruto stumbled to his feet and limped on, heading for his grandfather's cage. He arrived after 20 excruciating, painful minutes. Kurama was laughing at him as he arrived at the cage, but his mother came over right away and attempted to assist him. Kushina replied, "Naruto-kun, what did you get yourself into this time?" "I don't." "Ah," Naruto exclaimed, but a massive pain burst through his words, causing him to collapse to the ground and almost faint once more. Kushina altered the mindscape and assisted him in standing up. She sat her son on a nearby bench and switched the mindscape to a typical park. "Now what happened?" she asked as she sat him there. "According to Naruto, I was fighting Kazuya and then some guys dumped some stuff on me. I don't know what it was, but all of a sudden it was as if someone put me in a tub full of water and dropped an iron in it. I passed out and woke up here. Ever since I've been trying to get here, but the pain was stopping me." "The liquid. What color was it?" asked Kushina. According to Naruto, it was a really deep red, like blood. Kushina touched her forehead thoughtfully, closed her eyes, and lowered her head. What could have caused the redness of his blood, pain, and fainting? Oh my god. "Mom, what is it?" Naruto exclaimed as he leapt back from his mother's yell. Kushina was still freaking out and didn't seem to hear him. She was on the verge of hyperventilation. Despite the pain he was experiencing, Naruto managed to grab his mother and scream, "Okay, Chan." Naruto said, "Mom, calm down. What the hell is the problem?" as Kushina stopped hyperventilating. Kushina's eyes began to well up with tears and she began to sniff. She finally lost control of her tears and began sobbing and embracing her son. All Naruto could do was give her a hug in return. He heard a rumbling, deep laughter as he did so. Unsurprised, he turned to see Kurama cutting him off. Kurama replied, "Of all things to run into, he runs into lamb's blood. Wow, stupid human, when you fuck up big." "What is he talking about?" Naruto asked, turning to face his mother. Kushina replied, "That stuff that they dumped on you was lamb's blood, Naruto." Despite his disgust at being sprayed with animal blood, Naruto overcame it and asked, "What's so special about lamb's blood?" Kushina stated, "Naruto, honey, the lamb is a very special creature. When demons used to visit this world, their favorite food to eat was the lamb. Eventually, Kami-sama saw this as a way to kill the demons, so she gave the blood of the lamb special properties. It was made to be addictive. Also, if it was drank by any person, it would act like a mild poison. 8 ounces of lamb blood in a human body would have the same effect as half a gallon of sake. But in the bodies of demons, it was even worse." "What does it do to demons?" asked Naruto. Kushina continued, "When it comes into contact with demon skin, it immediately nullifies the abilities of the demons. Also, the demon would be left without Yuki. If it stays on a demon's skin long enough, it starts to eat through it like acid. If ingested, it would feel like the demon ingested acid. The sheer pain from having that stuff in their body has caused many demons to go insane from the pain. Some of them died outright. These ailments would persist for as long as the lamb's blood was in the body. When the demons realized what the lamb's blood was doing to them, they retreated to the demon's domain, the home of all demons, and decided to stay there." Naruto gazed incredulously at his mother. He replied, "So you mean to tell me that as long as this lamb blood is in my body, I can't use any of my Yuki?" Kushina replied with a nod. "Yes, Naruto. So that means that until this lamb blood is gone, no demon form, no Yuki. Hell, I don't even think that you're partly demon anymore." Awed by the repercussions of coming into contact with the substance, Naruto turned to face his mother. "Lamb's blood can do all of that? Unbelievable. But wait, if I'm basically 3/4 human, that means that the enhanced healing that my demon blood gives me is gone." Kushina gave a nod. "Yep. Until this lamb's blood is gone, you need to take extra special care. While your skin is still tougher and your bones are denser than a regular human, you can be hurt easier than normal." Naruto swore at his own reflection. His invulnerability and healing were the cornerstones of his entire fighting style. If it meant a deadly blow to the neck or body, he could easily take a stab wound in the gut. He would recover in less than 12 hours if he yanked out the weapon. He couldn't simply take powerful blows and return them with even more force, though, if he didn't have healing. To avoid death, he would need to increase his dodging and blocking. He needed to completely alter his fighting style, and that wasn't exactly a bad idea, now that he considered it. He countered by taking hits, which was his style, but if he were up against someone whose healing factor was as strong as his, how would he respond? What if he engaged in combat with a person who had denser bones or tougher skin? Sasuke was far stronger than him when they battled, and Sasuke used his Super Saiyan-like transformation. He could take more hits, too. Thus, attempting to take a blow from Sasuke might cause him to fail. Even though he enjoyed charging with his guns blazing, he needed a much-needed change in his fighting style. And he could think of no other time to do it than now because he was enmeshed in his thoughts about the foreseeable future. I understand, Mom. So, can we change this place into a dojo? Naruto asked, nodding. You planning on getting some training done while we're in here? Kushina asked with a sly smile. Like his mother, Naruto grinned and replied, hell yeah. As Kushina punched Naruto across the top of the head and yelled, you do not use that language in front of me, young man. Her smirk swiftly turned to a frown. 12:30 a.m. in Juahachi town. 4 hours after their altercation with Kazuya was over, Hinata was watching over the shack. She couldn't sleep with Naruto unconscious, so she offered to stand guard. When he did wake up, she wanted to be there for him. If he awakens. I can't think that way, no way. He will undoubtedly awaken. However, Hinata was unsure of whether she was stating a fact or attempting to persuade herself of it. She was standing guard when Lee appeared behind her and gave her a shoulder tap. He was surprisingly quiet and not too noisy. Hinata. Chan, it is my turn to keep watch. I suggest you get some rest. After getting to her feet, Hinata said, thank you, Lee. As she turned to return to the shack, Lee said, Hinata. Chan, don't worry. Naruto-kun is a fighter. He fought Sasuke with a stab wound in his leg. He won't let something like a virus kill him. Thanks again, Lee. Hinata nodded. Lee grinned broadly at Hinata, which strangely made his teeth sparkle in the moonlight. Anytime, Hinata. Chan. Hinata returned to Naruto's room so she could sleep next to him in case he needed anything during the night. Naruto began to thrash and scream at random points during the night. He became increasingly pale as his skin began to lose its color. Hinata maintained hope even though things appeared to be getting worse. As she entered the room, she noticed Tenten sobbing and holding Naruto's hand. Hinata was furious when she saw this. However, she was so exhausted that she chose to watch rather than make a scene. While Tenten was grasping Naruto's hand, she said, please come back to me, Naruto-kun. Please. I know that we've only known each other for 2 months, but you've made such a huge impact on my life. Ever since you walked into my uncle's shop, you've brightened up my life. You've added something to it that I've always needed but never known about. And now that I have it, I don't want to ever let it go. I know that you might not feel the same way about me as I feel about you, but please come back. If not to be with me, then just to be in my life. What you added to my life, and what you mean to me, I can't go on without it. If you don't want to be with me, I understand. I just want you to be a part of my life. I don't know how you did it, but, sniff, you became the most important person to me in just a few months. I can't imagine a life without you and I don't want to. Naruto-kun. So please, for the love of God, come back to me. Tenten's tears, grief, and frustration that she had been suppressing began to flow at that moment. While Naruto was still thrashing, she began to cry uncontrollably and threw her head into his chest. Hinata watched all of this and was shocked. It was unbelievable to her. Even though Naruto had only known Tenten for a brief period of time, he had already had a significant influence on her. Tenten wept over Naruto's unconscious form. At that point, all she wanted was to be in his life, regardless of whether he felt the same way about her. Hinata believed for a long time that Tenten was only attempting to take Naruto away from her for petty reasons. Now, however, it was undeniable. Like her, Tenten had genuine feelings for Naruto. Naruto became a part of Tenten's life, which is why she wanted him. She had intense feelings for him, which is why she wanted him. For the same reasons that Hinata did, she desired him. She is exactly like me when we first met. Has she been the target of my resentment because I fell for the same trick? Naruto-kun possesses this kind of aura. I simply cannot explain it, but he simply draws people to him. I was drawn to him for some reason, and now she is as well. I'll be a hypocrite if I try to push her away right now. What do I do, damn it? Having some trouble, Hinata. Chan. Surprised, Hinata leapt into the air and turned to face Neji. She responded with, Neji-kun, what are you doing here? Neji responded, well, Tenten's crying woke me up. I came here to try and lessen her discomfort, but it seems that you have as much discomfort as she does." Hinata glanced around, but nobody was paying attention. She turned to Neji and said, "Tenten has a big crush on Naruto. In that order. Tell me something I don't know. She likes him for the exact same reasons that I do. Naruto just has this way with people that makes them like him. Hell, he could probably spend an hour in a room with Orochimaru and they'd come out as best friends. How can I try to force her away from Naruto when she was exactly like I was when I first had feelings for him?" As he listened to his fictitious younger sister open up about her emotions, Neji grinned. That problem had a rather clear solution. She simply wasn't giving it enough thought. When Neji asked, "Who says you have to push her away?" he was still grinning. "What?" was all Hinata could say in response to Neji's strange response. Neji continued to smirk. "I tried hinting at this to Tenten, but she didn't take the bait. So I guess I'll just say it outright. There's no law against Naruto being with two women." Once more, Hinata's only response was, "What?" Neji stated, "There's no law against dating two people at once. It doesn't matter if his feelings for Tenten are weak, or if Tenten and Naruto will get married one day, that still doesn't mean he can't marry you too." Hinata replied, "But how? There's no way marrying more than one person is legal." Neji nodded and continued, "It is legal. Everyone just acts like it's illegal because they think it's morally wrong to marry more than one person. But technically, it was never written into law. So that means that polygamy is only considered deviant behavior, not criminal behavior." Hinata gazed at Neji in astonishment, bewilderment, and a glimmer of hope. She responded, "So you mean that no matter what his feelings for Tenten are, we could still be together?" The hope in Hinata's voice made Neji laugh. He replied, "Yes, Imouto. Naruto could fall in love with 10 women and marry them all, and he could still be with you." "But won't people look down on us for it?" Hinata asked. Neji gazed incredulously at Hinata. "It's unbelievable that she just said that." Neji responded, "Hinata, your boyfriend is the container of the Kyuubi no Kitsune, beat out the village's golden boy for the Rookie of the Year title, and frequently kicks the golden boy's ass. It's pretty obvious that people will look down on you already. The question you have to ask yourself is, do you love Naruto enough to put up with all of it?" As Hinata began to piece it together in her mind, she was unable to respond to Neji's statement. Neji replied, "I can see that I've said enough. For now, I think I'll try and get some more sleep. You should too." Then, leaving Hinata in the hallway, Neji turned around and returned to his room. Tenten was still there, sobbing uncontrollably, when she peered in the door. Without disturbing Tenten, Hinata approached Naruto and took hold of his other hand. After observing Tenten's behavior, Hinata realized that she and Naruto would eventually need to make a significant choice. In the hopes that he would be able to draw strength from her this time rather than the other way around, Hinata simply brought Naruto's hand closer to her heart and tightened his grip. With Naruto could still feel the pain of the lamb's blood running through his veins while he was fighting his mother in his mindscape. He moved as if a 10-ton weight were fastened to each limb. Furthermore, it didn't appear that the sporadic pain flare-ups he experienced would stop anytime soon. Surprisingly, however, the pain was less intense than before when one of the spasms struck him. And he would swear to the end of his life that he heard Hinata and Tenten's voices saying, "Please come back to me, Naruto-kun," despite the fact that there was no specific explanation for it. During his sparring match, Naruto paused and raised his gaze to the sky. He felt as though he was staring into the eyes of the two women, despite the fact that above him there was nothing but a white emptiness. "Don't worry, Hina-chan," he thought. "I meant it when I said earlier that there was no force in the world that would separate us. I will return to you, Ten-chan, even though my feelings for you are not as strong as those for Hina-chan. That is a lifelong commitment." More determined than ever to alter his fighting style, Naruto turned to face his mother and began punching her more frequently. He spent the next 20 hours doing that with his mother. They fought non-stop from 8:30 p.m. until 8:30 p.m. the following day, which helped Naruto adjust to his new fighting style. They hadn't exactly been successful, but they had come a long way. Naruto was now better prepared to battle opponents with comparable strength to himself. The startling thing was that it appeared that the frequency of the spasms decreased over time. He had completely stopped them by the time he and his mother finished training. Kushina closed her eyes and performed a mental health check on Naruto after their training session. Much of the lamb's blood that had fallen on his body appeared to have been washed away. That must have been very beneficial. After coming into contact with lamb's blood, Naruto initially questioned why demons didn't simply take a shower, but then he came to a realization. He was only half demon, and the small amount he swallowed and the amount splashed on his body had put him into a coma. Just think of what it would have done to a whole demon. For fear of getting it on them, the other demons wouldn't assist, and they wouldn't be able to crawl somewhere to clean themselves. Naruto began to express gratitude to Kami for his wonderful friends who looked after him. It's ironic, Naruto thought. Demons almost perish as a result of lamb's blood. They always consider people to be inferior to them or weaker than them. However, many of them would not have perished from coming into contact with lamb's blood if they had swallowed their pride and accepted assistance from a human. Naruto was thinking about the demon's hubris and its curses when Kushina said, "Naruto, I think your body has started to shake off the effects of the lamb's blood. You got off easy this time, Naruto-kun, be careful next time." Nodding, Naruto uttered, "I will Okan-chan." At that point, Naruto began to lose his position. The day after blood fell on Naruto, Juahachi Town, at 8:30 p.m. Tenten and Hinata remained close to Naruto in the hopes that he would awaken quickly. The situation worsened during the night. He began to thrash more and more, and his skin turned grayer. Everyone was afraid of him as his condition worsened. Could Naruto's story come to an end? Tenten had an idea while everyone else was in mourning. When he first touched the blood, it all began. Removing it might help him get over it. In order to remove the lamb's blood and undress Naruto, everyone pitched in at noon. Naruto's condition began to improve almost immediately, even though Tenten and Hinata would likely be unable to look him in the eye for a week. He began thrashing less in his sleep as soon as they were done cleaning the blood off of him. 4 hours later, the screams of pain subsided to a slight moan before disappearing. His gray skin began to turn into a lighter shade of Naruto's natural skin tone. His skin returned to normal by 6 p.m. He appeared to be simply sleeping off the pain for the time being. Tenten and Hinata were still with Naruto at 8:30. However, the altercation last night and their concerns about Naruto had worn them down. Despite their best efforts, they both fell asleep because they were so exhausted. And that was the state of affairs when Naruto awoke. When Naruto opened his eyes after waking up, he saw a bright light shining over his head and moaned. He felt a burden on his chest as he attempted to sit up. He looked down and saw Hinata sleeping on his chest with one of Tenten's hair buns directly over her head. In an attempt to wake them, Naruto began shaking the girls, but they were both uncooperative. Unfortunately, Naruto was stranded there. Neji finally entered the room and saw Naruto's situation. He burst out laughing. "Will you just shut up and help me already?" Naruto asked, giving him a stern look. Neji said, "Fine, I will. Don't get your panties in a twist." After his laughter subsided, Neji said aloud, "Hinata, ten. Naruto's sunbathing nude," while cupping his mouth. Both girls immediately leapt to their feet and yelled, "Where?" Both Naruto and Neji burst out laughing at the two girls. Before they heard Naruto laughing, the girls gave Neji a fierce look for saying that. "Naruto!" They both exclaimed, and they began embracing him tightly. Naruto noticed that his clothes were gone as he sat up. He replied, what happened to my clothes?" After an hour and some severe blushing, they managed to get Naruto back into his normal attire. Once they had, the girls began to tell Naruto what he had missed. Then Naruto said, "Well, why are we wasting time here? Let's go out there and find these bastards." Tenten and Hinata both pushed Naruto down when he attempted to stand up. Tenten said, "Naruto-kun, you're not fully okay yet. You were almost in a coma, you need to rest more." Naruto replied, "Forgive me if I'm wrong, Tenten-chan, but I just got done resting for 24 hours straight. Now I want to go kick some ass." Tenten pushed Naruto back down when he attempted to move. "Naruto," she said, meeting his gaze, "you're not leaving this bed." Naruto was horrified by what he saw when he looked into her eyes. He nodded his head dutifully and returned to his position. After that, Tenten grinned and said, "Good." In a whisper, Hinata said, "Good one." Tenten felt strangely startled. The source of the compliment, not the compliment itself. Gradually, she said, "Thank you." For the remainder of the night, the girls conversed with Naruto and one another. At 12:30, the girls started to feel drowsy. They fell asleep quickly after that. "Now it's time for me to get back out there and train," Naruto thought as he noticed that. Making sure the girls were not bothered in any way, Naruto crept out of his bed. After sneaking out, he proceeded to a random tree and began kicking and punching it. Naruto put his strength, speed, agility, endurance, and everything else he could think of to the test. His outcomes weren't favorable. With ease, Naruto had lost roughly half of his strength. The force behind his punches had diminished. He was no longer able to move as quickly. He seemed to transform into a poor man's reflection of himself. Naruto summoned the strength of Super Saiyan after testing himself in his normal form for 30 minutes. he discovered that summoning the power required a lot more work than what he had previously done. Despite its strength and incredible boost, it was unable to undo the harm caused by the lamb's blood. Naruto attempted Super Saiyan 2 as well. First, Naruto used Super Saiyan to power up. However, he was unable to pass the point he had reached after increasing his power. Naruto clenched his jaw and made a more determined effort to increase his power, but it didn't seem to be helping. Naruto screamed and gave it everything he had, but as he did, Super Saiyan 2's power surged through his body, causing him to scream out in agony this time before reverting to his normal form. It's worse than I anticipated. Super Saiyan 2 appeared to have given him a lot more power, much like the original Super Saiyan transformation. However, similar to Super Saiyan, if he put too much power into his body, it would begin to rip it apart. He partially repaired the damage with his demonic healing. He could remain transformed for a longer period of time because the damage was being repaired. He could hardly remain transformed in Super Saiyan, much less Super Saiyan 2, without his demonic healing. Naruto made the decision to go to their hiding place after fighting for another 30 minutes. He heard his stomach growl as he got there. Naruto decided to feed the black hole he dubbed the stomach, but when he opened the refrigerator, nothing was inside. What am I supposed to do? Damn it. There isn't any food here, despite my extreme hunger. Perhaps there is a store open where I could purchase something. After deciding to take that route, Naruto flew around Juahachi town in search of either open stores or establishments that appeared to be loaded by their owners. In the worst-case scenario, he would simply choose to grab some food from the store. He and his friends were being falsely accused of a crime they had not committed by these bastards. When he and his friends took the necessary actions to survive, the least they could do was turn a blind eye. Naruto landed close to a comparatively prosperous shop. It was enormous and appeared to be very high-end. In a store like this, I'm pretty sure they won't miss a little bit of food, Naruto thought. In search of a way inside, Naruto flew around the building. While doing so, he noticed something that caught his attention. A Privaran member was also present and observing the store. When Naruto first noticed the bag close to the gangbanger, he assumed it was because the store owner was paying the Privaran member to keep an eye on the area. Even from a distance, Naruto could see that the bag next to the Privaran member was stuffed full of bricks, hammers, crowbars, and other tools needed to do damage. Oh, I understand. In order to extract protection money from the owner, he will demolish the store. This is made simpler by that. I can get the food, knock him out, and then blame him for the rest. Just before he could execute this plan, he heard someone say, Naruto-chan, you're not looking at the big picture here. Mom, what do you mean? I mean that for the past couple days your friends have been looking for a Privaran member to interrogate for info. Now that you have one in your sights who's prime for the taking, you want to frame him for stealing some food? Oh, right, Naruto thought sheepishly. I overlooked it. What would you do without me? Remove that annoying voice from my mind. Hey. Naruto descended and landed directly behind the member of Privaran. Grabbing the man by the head, he leaned him back, sending his skull hurtling toward the floor. Without a struggle, the man fell to the ground. Naruto seized him and flew in the direction of his group. When he landed, he noticed that everyone was staring at him. Hey guys, did I miss something? Said Naruto. Tenten stepped forward and gave him a head punch. She replied, yeah. You missed the fact that you just came out of a coma and need to rest. What were you thinking going out there and scaring us half to death? Naruto replied, I'm sorry, Tenten-chan, but I got something here to make up for it. Naruto-kun, who is that? Asked Hinata. After dropping the man he was holding, Naruto gave him a head bop. He stated, this little bastard here is a member of the Privaran. And now, we have an informant. Embarrassed, Tenten and Hinata both said, oh. After snatching the man from Naruto, Neji remarked, let's get him inside before someone sees him. The man was quickly escorted into the building by Naruto and the others. Naruto chose to use a backhand across the man's face to wake him up after strapping him in. The man snapped out of it and glanced around. Where am I? He asked. Naruto replied, it doesn't matter where you're at. You're here to answer our questions. Now, if you answer them, we won't have to hurt you. The man gave Naruto a direct look before saying, fuck you. Naruto replied, fine then. I didn't want to do this, but you're forcing me to. Kurenai, sensei? Kurenai gave a nod and began performing hand seals. Her final words were, hell viewing jutsu. The man appeared to be daydreaming as his eyes grew glassy. The man appeared calm and content as the muscles in his face began to relax. But after a moment, that slack-jawed expression gave way to one filled with fear. After the man had been screaming for 10 seconds, Kurenai let go of the jutsu. Sweating and struggling for breath, the man emerged from the scene. Additionally, there was a slight urine odor in the space. "Do you remember what just happened?" asked Naruto. "I'll send you back there if you don't answer our questions." "Where is Rodrigo Boruja?" Naruto said in response to the man's nod. The individual replied, I can't tell you. They'll kill me if I tell you." Placing his hand beside the man's face, Naruto launched an attack using Demon's Rage. He stated, "I'll kill you right now if you don't." Okay. Just don't hurt me," the man yelled. After defeating his Demon's Rage attack, Naruto uttered the words, "All right, now tell us where Rodrigo Boruja is." The individual replied, "About 10 miles south of Juahachi town is a small village. He's been hiding out there. He's paying the people of the village to not tell the cops." With a nod, Naruto said, "What about those 3 ninja that Boruja had attack us?" Neji then approached. The individual stated, "They just showed up one day. Apparently Boruja and that black-haired one knew each other from somewhere. Those 3 were looking for some place to stay and some work, so Boruja has had them helping us. They even helped us learn to use our energy. I think they called it Katra." Naruto replied, "It's called chakra, you dumbass. Seriously, what kind of idiot doesn't know that?" The man gave Naruto a fierce look before Naruto raised his hand and directed energy into it, making it glow. As soon as he stopped glaring, the man said, "Moving on. They helped teach us a few ninja moves and helped us kick the other ninja out of town." Neji replied, "We know that you need to take a tattoo to join the gang. How do you hide yours?" The man continued, "When we first got the tattoo, it became too easy to tell members from non-members. But then those 3 ninja came and helped us. They took some ink, drew some weird symbol over the tattoo, and then, poof, the tattoo was gone. And then, just to help with it, they put some makeup over it too. Some strange symbol that causes something to vanish," Neji thought. "I think it sounds like a genjutsu seal." Neji hurried to the restroom and came back with a damp cloth. When he rubbed the area of the man's upper arm where the tattoo should have been, a substance that matched the color of the man's skin came off. Following some time spent cleaning the area, Neji placed his finger where he believed the seal to be and muttered, "Release." He saw the seal appear as he broke through the genjutsu seal. Neji was unable to explain the circle of tiny symbols that surrounded the tattoo. Neji stated, the genjutsu seal around the tattoo was what was keeping the mayor from seeing it. The makeup on the arm made it so that even if they died, it wouldn't show up unless someone washed the makeup away. Naruto replied, "Pretty good plan. But I have another question. What kind of protections does Boruja have at his hideout?" The individual stated, "He has about 30 people there at all times. Also, he has those 3 ninja there. They're almost never away from him. As a matter of fact, I think they run the group more than he does. They're always talking him into doing things and they're the ones who pass the orders to us. It's like he's their cover." After giving the man a nod, Naruto swiftly kicked him in the jaw. Naruto turned to the other people in the room after the man fainted and said, "Well guys, we just found out where Rodrigo is. Now we need an attack plan." Kazuya was moving about Rodrigo's base, counting the number of people he saw. He came to a realization as he completed his head count. One person was absent. Kazuya asked, "Where's Kevin.San?" as she hurried to the closest member. Shaking his head, the man said, "I have no idea." "Has anyone seen Kevin.San?" asked Kazuya. He overheard a person say, "I told him to go put in some work at Makoto's shop on Kobayashi Avenue." Kazuya turned to see a slightly portly man where the voice had come from. The man was dressed in a hooded maroon-red robe. The robe featured gold patterns and a golden outline. He had a gray beard and mustache, and gray hair. "Who else went with him?" asked Kazuya. According to the man, "I told him to go alone." "Rodrigo, why the hell would you do that?" asked Kazuya. Kazuya thought to herself, "Damn it. What a perfect moment for this weakling to develop a backbone." Rodrigo Boruja replied, "Because we couldn't spare the people. Besides, you said it yourself. The only competition that we have is that group of ninja in Juahachi town, and now that you've taken out their strongest Junin and their powerhouse of a genin, they're weaklings. What's the worst that could happen?" Somewhere else, Kurenai was questioning their new informant for more details at the gang's new base. Naruto said, "Wait a minute, Kurenai. Sensei. Why don't we get the mayor to listen to him? Maybe if the mayor listens to him, he'll ease up on us and we can walk around town again." This was as she began to force the information out of him like a hose. Kurenai replied, "How do you suppose we get the mayor to hear him? I mean, we can't exactly kidnap the mayor and bring him here, can we?" "Why not? It'll probably bring a little spice to this neighborhood," Naruto shrugged. Naruto, we're not kidnapping the mayor. How about we do this instead? Neji said, giving Naruto a slap on the back of the head. Neji then explained to the others his strategy for persuading the mayor to listen to their side of the story. Kurenai listened to it and remarked, "It does sound reasonable, if a little inhumane." While listening in on their conversation in silence, Shino remarked, "With all due respect, Kurenai Sensei, these guys terrorize neighborhoods and vandalize property for a living. I think we can overlook the inhumane factor just a bit." Naruto declared, "I'm on board with it." "All right, then, let's get started," Kurenai said. The following day, the mayor was in his office the following day. He had a lot to deal with as mayor. The most recent one began the moment the ninja reached his hometown. They were only wanted for interrogation after the Kuroi Getsu Hotel was destroyed by fire. However, more than 2 days have passed since he declared in public that the ninja were wanted for interrogation. They hadn't arrived yet. They were backing the mayor into a corner. The more vocal members of the city council were pressuring him to take further action against the ninja, but he still wanted the truth to be known. The mayor of Juahachi town knew he couldn't continue to do this, despite his desire to give them more time. He was therefore looking at the arrest warrants for the Konohagakure ninja with a heavy heart. He was about to sign them, which was the only thing left to complete the formality. He heard a knock on his door as he was picking up his pen. The mayor let out a sigh, glad that the tension had been broken. "Enter," he said. 2 stout men came in with a large box between them. They each went out as they dropped the box off. As they were leaving, the mayor said, "Wait a minute. What about me signing?" The sound of the door closing cut short the mayor's statement. He was not forced to sign for this parcel. That's strange. They simply forgot to sign over each package as required. The mayor simply ignored it and debated whether or not to sign those documents for the next hour or so. However, he heard a shuffling sound before he could sign them. He looked around, but found nothing. Then he heard another rumbling and turned back to his work. The mayor turned to face the box where the noise was coming from. Imagine his astonishment when he opened the box and discovered that it contained a tape. Wrapped Privarin member. The mayor noticed a little note written in exquisite penmanship on the box's flaps. His right forearm has a genjutsu seal that conceals his Privarin mark. The note stated, "You'll learn a great deal if you grill him. Your amiable local ninja has signed." The mayor watched in disbelief as the member of Privarin fought against his restraints. The mayor wasn't going to waste the informant on the Privarin that had just been given to them. He had his secretary contact their city's top interrogators and police chief. After a couple of hours, the mayor of Juahachi town decided to call a town meeting after the Privarin member had been repeatedly drilled for a few hours. His secretary could tell the mayor meant business by the tone he used when speaking to her. As soon as possible, she assigned their best heralds to spread the word about the speech. The meeting was reported to the Privarin spies in the village, who relayed the information. However, Kazuya received the message rather than Rodrigo. Kazuya hastily pulled up the collar of his large black trench coat and covered as much of his face as he could with a black hat. He slipped into his disguise and hurried to the location of the speech. While everyone was gathered around, the mayor approached the podium and spoke. "Thank you all for coming out so quickly. There's been a major break in the Kuroi Getsu Hotel case. This morning, a person was delivered to my office in a cardboard box. I suspected that he was a member of the Privarin, and after interrogating him for a few hours, me and Police Chief Minamoto-san have discovered quite a few things. For example, the Privarin were the ones behind the destruction of the Kuroi Getsu Hotel. The member we interrogated said that one of their members committed the act. Because of this, I am ordering the wanted posters of the Leaf Nin taken down, effective immediately. Also, the informant wouldn't tell me how, but he said him and his group were taught ninja techniques. Because of this, I am advising everyone not to try and take on the Privarin alone. That is all." Kazuya swore as the mayor concluded his remarks. What could possibly go wrong? That idiot. Our efforts to keep this town safe from the daimyo's lapdogs have now been undone. I promise to kill that jerk Boruja the next time I have the chance. Kazuya sped off in the direction of Boruja's estate and vanished in an instant. He was unaware that a certain quarter, Sayain was observing him from above as he moved. When Naruto noticed Kazuya moving, he accelerated to follow him. Naruto flew after the man for approximately an hour before spotting a village in the distance. There was a large mansion-like house in the center, encircled by 15 people all dressed in Privarin attire. He had just hit pay dirt, and Naruto knew it. Naruto surveyed the village for the next 30 minutes. It would be easy to enter the village because it appeared that they had no way of monitoring who entered and left. It appeared that Boruja's mansion was surrounded by a weak wall. It would be easy for Naruto to blow through. They could hurry in and seize Boruja while a group of them kept the Privarin occupied. And while they're at it, hopefully, eliminate Kazuya and the other two stooges. Using all of his energy, Naruto took off and flew back to Juahachi town. Shino was waiting for him when he descended next to their hiding place. "How did the meeting go, Naruto?" asked Shino. Naruto stated, "Posters are taken down. Morale has changed. We are officially off the hook. Also, I saw that bastard Kazuya in the audience. I followed him to the village where Boruja is hiding. The guy's info checks out." Shino replied, "Good. The information you gathered can do wonders for us planning our siege of the place." With a nod, Naruto entered the structure. Naruto sent a Kage Bunshin to search the town and find out what the rumors were about the situation after assisting Neji in dropping off the informant. Kurenai told him to go and hide when he learned that there was a town meeting. Naruto was fortunate that nobody chose to look at the clouds at that precise moment. Kurenai and Neji were both preparing their attack on the house when Naruto entered one of the rooms. Naruto made the decision to assist them by contributing his own ideas. Rodrigo was walking around his property at night as darkness descended on the little village he had paid off. Even though Kazuya had made a big deal out of him leaving, Rodrigo yelled at him and walked away. What if their plan to make people distrust the Konoha ninja didn't work? This was a single town in a whole nation. This was actually a town without a name. The town's name is a number, for Kami's sake. They could simply try this again in any other town in High no Kuni. Once the locals began to distrust the Konoha ninja, they would abandon the town for their capture. That annoying Kazuya is having a tantrum over nothing. We can start over if this plan doesn't work out. I'm willing to wager that this will all be forgotten within a month. The last person to anticipate what would happen was Rodrigo. He heard a loud explosion while out for a walk. He turned to look at the source and saw smoke rising from the other side of the compound. Rodrigo sprinted in the direction of the compound as soon as he realized something was amiss. He heard someone scream as he entered. He hurried to the facility's most secure room at the very top, knowing that he didn't want to get within 100 feet of whatever it was. If he had stayed, he would have seen a beautiful woman with black hair standing in the shadows, wearing a genjutsu. A couple of minutes before, the Kurenai free group waited for the signal by the wall. Naruto glanced up at the sky to determine the moon's position. He bided his time until there, the position of the moon indicated that it was 10 p.m. Naruto turned to face his fellow waiters, who all prepared themselves. Both Naruto and Hinata extended their right arms fully. They began to gather energy after shifting their hands so that the palm was facing the wall. Almost instantly, their palms began to take on a black aura. The aura began to lift off to form a tiny black ball of energy after condensing until it was in the middle of their palms. The size of the ball began to increase, going from pea-sized to basketball-sized. They both shouted, "Spirit shot," at once, as though they could read each other's thoughts. Both of them pushed their palms forward, releasing the energy bursts. Tenten couldn't help but feel different as she observed them at work. Following their reconciliation, Naruto and Hinata were behaving as though they were one person. When it came to fighting, in particular, they behaved as one. Tenten couldn't help but feel jealous when she saw them like this. She desired the same connection with Naruto. However, those two behaved as though they were a match made in heaven. Did their relationship have enough space for another? Did Naruto have enough space in his heart for another? The weapon's mistress was ripped from her thoughts by the orbs striking the wall and destroying it like paper match. To survive the battle, she fortified herself and momentarily separated her emotions from her psyche. The whole group charged in as the smoke from the explosions rose. Determined to put an end to this mission, Naruto charged in the smoke. For him, it was a nightmare of mixed emotions. He was brought closer to death than he had ever been, even though he did reconcile with his girlfriend and discover the boundaries of his demonic form. All he wanted was for this fucking thing to end so he could start getting better. Worse, his new fighting style would be put to the test for the first time. He needed to be careful not to revert to his previous behaviors. He had no choice but to charge in and pray that he didn't die in a blaze of any kind, even glory. But given who he is and what he has done in the past, he would probably die a fiery death. The ninja dispersed throughout the courtyard as they charged in. The Privaran charged after them as they did, like moths to a flame. The ninja all began attacking as the Privaran moved around. Hinata formed her bow of energy and leapt to the top of a wall. With a shout of, "Spirit arrow!" she began firing arrow after arrow, reducing Privaran's numbers. Tenten did the same thing as they launched their assault. She leapt to Hinata's side and began supporting her fellow genin from a distance. Both girls gave each other a little smile as they eliminated enemies from a distance. Both of them have been friendly with one another ever since Naruto's near-death experience. At least they weren't grabbing for kunai when they saw each other, even though they weren't exactly best friends. Both of them were trying to ignore the fact that Naruto would be involved in their upcoming big talk, even though they knew it was inevitable. Naruto directed his Reiki toward his hand as soon as he arrived at his position. As he did, a generic Reiki sword came into being. Naruto had access to his Reiki in his human form even though he was unable to use either his Yuki or his demonic form. Naruto lunged forward and collided with a Privarin member's kunai swing. Naruto ducked as he saw the man draw his kunai back for another slice. Naruto plunged the sword into the man's abdomen as he ducked. Naruto repelled the blade as it entered the man's stomach and created a new one. He had to make another one, which required more energy, but it took a lot less time than attempting to pull it from the man's stomach. Furthermore, nothing could stop the man's blood from spilling onto the floor because the blade had dissipated. Though not nearly as quickly as he usually would, Naruto kept slicing through the Privarin members. Naruto was reminded of one of the many advantages of being the offspring of two groups of creatures that were bred to fight and kill because, despite his slower speed, he was still killing them. He was inherently insensitive to killing. He won't become a sniffling mess at the act, but that doesn't mean he won't feel anything. The fact that he grew up in a society where murder, betrayal, and fighting were commonplace and war only happened once every 10 years didn't hurt either. After a while, you kind of got used to it with things like that going on. Furthermore, Naruto showed no concern for these members of Privarin. To make a quick profit, they all agreed to rob and terrorize a town. They deserved to die, in his opinion. Naruto wouldn't be sleeping less over killing them because of these factors. Kurenai's voice came over their radios as they were removing the people from the courtyard. Guys, Boruja just went into the tower. Naruto grinned. Just like we thought he would. The strategy worked perfectly. Boruja would be followed until he was on the other side of the building from where they entered. He would run with his tail between his legs at the sound of the battle. Naturally, he would rush to his group's strongest members, who were the ones they were seeking. They would follow Boruja to the runaway criminals and apprehend them all simultaneously. Okay guys, start the plan. Tenten and Hinata were sitting on the wall when Naruto leapt to the bottom of it. The others began attracting the other members of Privarin to them as they stood up there. Naruto squatted down and spread his feet. Acting as though he had a basketball in front of his chest, he brought his hands up to his chest. A red ball of energy began to form between Naruto's hands as he was doing this. The ball grew larger and larger until it filled the gap between Naruto's palms. After finishing his energy gathering, Naruto exclaimed, "Destruction wave." The first syllable of the word, destruction, was spoken, and Lee, Neji, and Shino leapt to their feet, narrowly escaping the red ball of energy that sailed forward and collided with the gang members. A massive smokescreen rose as the explosion happened, stopping both sides. Both Naruto and Hinata were gone when the smoke cleared. But Team Guy and Shino launched a ferocious attack before the Privarin had time to consider this. The Privarin was unaware that the compound door was open as the genin attacked. Within the structure, both Naruto and Hinata began searching for Boruja as soon as they stepped inside the building, but they were unsuccessful. Though they were unable to locate Boruja, Naruto and Hinata located the steps and began running up them. Wait Hinata. Why are we tiring ourselves out running? Stopped Naruto as they were running around. How else will we get Boruja, flying? Asked Hinata. After glancing at her, Naruto replied, yeah. Hinata slapped herself across the forehead and blinked. She replied, oh Kami. Sama, Naruto.kun. I'm spending too much time with you. I'm becoming as big a baka as you. Hey! Exclaimed Naruto. Hinata simply laughed at him and flew up the stairs. As they flew to the top of the stairs, Naruto saw a door close and followed her by half a step. In a hurry, Naruto broke down the door. He entered and found Boruja huffing and puffing on the floor. Hinata followed Naruto as he entered. He replied, Mr. Boruja, you have some prison time to do. According to Rodrigo, I don't think so, Konoha scum. And just how will you stop us? Asked Naruto. Naruto heard a voice next to him say, he won't. When Naruto turned to look at Kazuya, he saw him running toward him with his sword already in motion. To dodge, Naruto leapt forward, but as he landed, he had to leap back before Moroku fell from the ceiling. Naruto felt arms envelop him from behind as he landed from his leap. A woman's voice spoke in his ear as he felt his head rest on a gentle surface and said, so, Naru.koi, we meet again. When Naruto looked up, Sakuya's charming, amiable, and alluring face was staring down at him. The boy's logical side was telling him to leave her, but as previously mentioned, Naruto is a hormonal adolescent, not just a boy. Additionally, although Naruto was typically able to control his hormonal teenage side, Gazing into Sakuya's amethyst eyes simply triggered his hormones and increased his lust by 200%. Naruto leapt away from her and landed beside an enraged Hinata, barely suppressing his lustful side. Naruto seized Hinata as he landed and gave her a passionate kiss that rivaled their first kiss together. Fortunately, he forgot about Sakuya as soon as he felt Hinata's body against his and her lips against his. He was still mentally reciting a mantra, though. My girlfriend is the object of my affection. I love her. I love her. Moroku blew a long whistle at the smoldering lip lock as they were sharing a kiss. Shame that thing has to die, Kazuya thought. They make a cute couple, I admit. As an afterthought, Sakuya muttered, then kick her out and invite me in. She was disgusted by the kiss and said, get a room. When Naruto's kiss with Hinata came to an end, he inhaled deeply, let it out, and said, okay, I'm ready to go. Go where? Asked Hinata, still in a daze from the kiss. Naruto turned to see Hinata's head bobbing to the left and right, her mouth open, drooling a little, and swirls in her eyes. After giving her a little shake to help her orient herself, Naruto confronted the quartet of adversaries. Naruto was saying, Hinata, get Sakuya and keep an eye on Rodrigo. You see an opportunity to get him out of here, you take it. Saying, hi, to the lone other female in the room, she charged. Naruto fled in pursuit of the two fighters. When he got to them, he had to roll to the left to avoid Moroku's dagger and then hop back a little to avoid Kazuya's sword. Naruto reached back and retrieved his own sword after noticing that they were both armed. In a defensive position, Naruto pulled out his sword and held it in front of him. As he did, he became aware that his kenjutsu style had not been in line with his new battle philosophy. He had a ton of work to do, man. However, Naruto was unable to complete the task at hand because he had to stop Kazuya's strike. Shortly after he deflected the blow, he witnessed Moroku sprint towards him and point the dagger at his throat. Moroku backed up after Naruto headbutted him in the nose after he had leaned back to avoid the attack. That'll hinder his fighting a little bit in the long run. However, it was still unclear if Naruto would survive. Naruto managed to block Kazuya's next blow, but he was unable to stop Moroku's dagger. Fortunately, the dagger did not cut his leg all the way through. Kazuya attempted to strike Naruto after Naruto would have attacked Moroku. After retreating to avoid the blow, Naruto had to retreat even further to evade Moroku's assault. Naruto was forced to retreat further as the two escaped convicts continued their attacks. Naruto finally struck the wall as he began to back up. Panic struck when he realized he could no longer back up. Kazuya seized the opportunity, charging forward, flipping his broadsword over, and slamming its flat edge into Naruto's abdomen. Naruto felt the blow strike his chest, and his eyes grew wide. A small amount of blood spurted out of his mouth and splashed on the ground. The assault was extremely painful. The force of that blow nearly caused him to void. Dropping his sword and clutching his stomach, Naruto fell to his knees in agony. Kazuya backed up and held his broadsword like a baseball bat, leaving him helpless. Kazuya responded, "Hey Demon Spawn, how about a little game of Yaku, baseball, home run?" Naruto was only able to fall to the ground and avoid the blow when Kazuya swung his broadsword and boasted. Moroku was in the air with his leg outstretched, seemingly attempting to drop it on Naruto's head when Naruto turned to his back. Instinctively, Naruto extended his hand and launched a ki blast, which struck Moroku's foot. Moroku began to jump on one foot as he landed. On the ground, Naruto rolled away from the kidnapper. After jumping to his feet, Naruto had to dodge Kazuya's sword slash. After giving Kazuya a palm thrust to the chest, Naruto suddenly let loose a flurry of ki that sent him hurtling toward the wall on the other side. Naruto was able to take a rare moment to survey his surroundings. Although Hinata appeared to be holding her own, he noticed that she had some cuts. Rodrigo had discovered a naginata from somewhere and appeared to swing it at Hinata whenever the chance arose. With confidence that Hinata could compete, Naruto turned away. He watched Kazuya pull himself out of the wall as he faced his own opponents. Moroku appeared to have applied a minor healing jutsu to his foot as well, which enabled him to resume fighting. Naruto noticed his sword on the ground close to Moroku. He intended to retrieve it because he was aware that without it, he was essentially helpless. After exiting the wall, Kazuya uttered the words, "Hell. Spawn, your demon tricks won't work on me." At the last second, Naruto performed a backflip and kicked Kazuya in the chin as he charged forward. When Naruto noticed Moroku approaching from behind, he tackled Kazuya and rolled under Moroku's hold, leaping forward and landing on the ground just short of his sword's reach. Moroku grabbed Naruto's foot before he could reach the sword hilt, even though Naruto had pulled himself forward to do so. Naruto spun around, unleashing 2 ki blasts that pushed Moroku backward. Naruto then snatched up his sword and spun around to confront Kazuya's attack. The blow was blocked by Naruto, but it made him take a step back. Naruto made the decision to attack on his own initiative rather than waiting for Kazuya to do so. He directed chakra into his arms and pushed Kazuya's broadsword away with the extra strength. Kazuya was left vulnerable as the broadsword widened, allowing Naruto to cut his stomach superficially. Moroku blindsided Naruto by tackling him into a wall before he could pursue it. Naruto turned to face Moroku, but Moroku sidestepped the blow and landed one of his own in Naruto's stomach instead. Twice more, he punched Naruto in the gut, but his attempt at an uppercut was unsuccessful. After stopping the uppercut with one hand by grabbing his fist, Naruto pushed Moroku back with the other. Stepping forward, Naruto leapt before dropkicking Moroku back. That used to hurt a hell of a lot less, Naruto thought as he fell hard onto his back. As Naruto rolled to his feet and charged after Moroku, he caught a glimpse of Kazuya approaching and slashing him in the ankles. After the attack, Naruto flipped over, facing the wall that had been behind him. With his free hand, he launched a ki blast at Kazuya's sword. Kazuya's sword flew from his grasp and skidded on the ground as a result of the ki blast. Naruto ran for Moroku after landing from the flip, but he ran straight into a clothesline by the prisoner. Naruto performed a 450-degree backflip and landed hard on his back due to the clothesline's extreme power. When the clothesline came dangerously close to closing Naruto's larynx permanently, he gasped for air. Naruto was clutching his neck while writhing on the ground, but he wasn't the only one in pain. Moroku thought, damn it. The neck of that demon was quite robust. All the way down to the bone, I could feel that clothesline. Moroku was holding his shoulder and winding his arm to restore the sensation, not to look cool. Naruto heard a feminine grunt of pain as he stood back up, beginning to recover from the clothesline. He turned to see Sakuya unconscious on the ground and Hinata clutching her hip. Hina-chan, what's wrong? Naruto exclaimed as he hurried to his beloved. Hinata stated, before I could defeat her, Sakuya stabbed me with that hidden blade on her wrist. She's pretty good, but I'm better. With pride, Naruto turned to face Hinata and remarked, that you are, Hina-chan. However, Naruto's expression immediately darkened. He stated, Hinata, I need you to listen to me. Hinata was caught off guard when he referred to her as Hinata. He hadn't referred to her as Hinata unless he was furious or completely serious. Knowing that he had her complete focus, Naruto said, Hinata, I'll give you some cover. You grab Boruja and Sakuya and get the hell out of here. In order to beat these guys, I'll have to use some of my more destructive attacks and I don't want to worry about accidentally killing you or those two. Why not kill her? Hinata asked with a murderous look in Sakuya's direction. Naruto replied, simple. Her bounty is a hell of a lot more if she's brought in alive than dead. And I want to start saving up for the diamond wedding ring that's as perfect as you. Naruto's discussion of the future flattered Hinata, but she responded, you know, Naruto-kun. I'd be perfectly fine with a cheap cubic zirconium ring. With a serious expression on his face, Naruto laughed and said, Hinata, I need you to do this for me. Hinata let out a sigh. Then she admitted, okay, Naruto-kun. You know, Naruto-kun, you make it really hard for me to be a bad girl. Naruto was saying, Hina-chan, you're perfect just the way you are. Whining, Hinata said, but I want to be bad. Rolling his eyes, Naruto remarked, just beat it, Hina-chan. Hinata laughed and prepared herself. Naruto turned to see Kazuya and Moroku appeared to be on the verge of attacking him. A blood-red orb of energy formed in Naruto's free hand as he charged energy into it. While shouting, Demon's Rage, Naruto hurled the orb at the two. As Naruto had intended, both men avoided the attack as it flew through the air. A massive hole was created in a wall when the attack struck it. When Hinata spotted the hole, she snatched Sakuya and a screaming and kicking Boruja and flew as fast as she could to the mayor's office in Juahachi town. Naruto turned to Kazuya and Moroku as she took off. They all began circling one another, searching for any flaws in one another's positions. Kazuya taunted Naruto in an attempt to distract him from his game. He stated, it seemed that your Hyuga whore left you here alone. Now how will you live without her and that other panda-looking bitch to hide behind? Naruto replied, I don't need Hina-chan or Ten-chan to kick your face in. Kazuya went on. It sure looked like that the other night. As soon as that blood was dumped on you, you screamed like a little girl and fainted. I found your weakness, demon spawn. It didn't work before. What makes you think it's a weakness? Was Naruto's response. Kazuya responded, you're right. I don't know it's a weakness. All I saw was you fainting. That's hardly viable evidence. I wasn't able to witness your entire time under the influence of the lamb's blood. Let's change that. Then Kazuya was no longer circling. He leapt far back and landed close to a wall. A lever was exposed when he punched the wall. As he pressed the lever, gallons of lamb's blood spilled from the ceiling and formed what appeared to be a ring on the ground. Naruto felt a little queasy the moment the scent of that stuff reached his nostrils. He noticed that the feeling lasted longer the closer he got to that stuff. I could hardly make it through a single bath in that stuff. I don't think I could last a second without 10. Chan or Hina. Chan here. As his opponents stepped into the circle, Naruto turned to face them. Kazuya replied, "This reminds me of those sumo matches. First one who leaves the ring loses. But for you, losing means death. And I'll be glad to deliver it." Naruto barely managed to block Kazuya's attack as she launched herself like a bat out of hell. Naruto approached the ring of blood after being forced back from thwarting the attack. After realizing Kazuya's scheme, Naruto gave Kazuya a knee to the stomach. With haste, Naruto let his foot fall and slammed his knee into Kazuya's face. After that, Naruto turned, twisted, and kicked Kazuya back. With his sword held back, Naruto leapt into the air and charged forward. He was going to attempt, ransom be damned, to remove Kazuya's head in a single swipe. Unfortunately, Miroku had other ideas. Paying Naruto back for that dropkick earlier was part of those plans. Miroku leapt to his feet and drop-kicked Naruto, sending him flying sideways. After rolling and popping back up, Naruto lost ground once more after taking another blow from Kazuya. He noticed that he was approaching the ring more and more this time. Miroku appeared intent on stopping Naruto when he attempted to use the same strategy as before. Miroku attempted to slit Naruto's stomach, but Naruto instinctively leapt back to avoid it, almost landing in the blood. Naruto tried to suppress the fear that began to well up inside of him. When he leaned back to avoid a swipe from Miroku's dagger, that control faltered, almost throwing him off balance. In an attempt to play baseball with Naruto's body once more, Kazuya hurried forward, but Naruto jumped back, avoiding the blow but landing squarely in the blood circle. To the annoyance of Kazuya and Miroku, Naruto's brain chose to activate and remind him of his ability to fly. Naruto hovered just a few inches away from the poisonous blood. After circling the two, Naruto landed to resume the battle. But all it took for him to understand the boundaries of his power was to block one of Kazuya's strikes. He simply struck them. Because Naruto was unable to block the blow, his sword flew wide, opening his torso to attack. Taking advantage, Miroku stabbed Naruto in the chest with the hilt of his dagger. Kazuya exploited it as well, swinging his broadsword like a baseball bat once more. With his first blow, he struck Naruto's sword hand, seriously wounding it and sending the sword flying. Then Kazuya made a full circle, adding speed and force to his blow to Naruto's head, which this time made contact. After the attack, Naruto flew and landed just a hair's breadth away from the blood. Naruto knew he could no longer continue in this manner as the blood began to seep into his head. His body was beginning to fail him. His sword hand was hurting like it was no big deal. Pain shot up his spine every time he even twitched his hand, unlike anything he had ever experienced. The Babe Ruth knockoff swing had left his head ringing. A few of his teeth were loose, and he could feel blood leaking from his nose. What am I supposed to do? I can't continue in this manner. My demonic side had always been there, but I had never realized it. It's among the things that define my identity. Without it, how can I fight? I feel as though I have an arm tied behind my back while I fight. I'm so accustomed to using it that I know it exists, but it's simply not responding. I feel lightheaded, drowsy, and like I might throw up. Shit. I had a contusion from that blow to the head. Or a head injury. I have it, whatever it is. Furthermore, I'm having trouble breathing because of this stab wound to my chest. I am not in a fit state to fight. I believe this could be it. What do you mean this might be it? Was the voice Naruto heard abruptly. Some voice outside his head had heard those words, even though he knew they had only been thoughts. Naruto turned to face the source of the voice and noticed a man standing next to him. As though Naruto weren't even present, Kazuya and Miroku appeared to be gloating over him. Perhaps he wasn't. Perhaps the concussion caused it, or it was merely a figment of his imagination. However, Naruto would consistently insist that the man who spoke to him at that moment was authentic. The man was 5 feet 5 inches. He was standing in the blood, but he seemed to ignore it, as if stepping in blood was an everyday occurrence for him. He-Man had golden eyes and around his eyes were a red outline. His eyes were narrowed in anger and his mouth had a half smirk, half sneer that, when combined with his gaze, Seemed as if he was patronizing you and being disgusted by the mere sight of you at the same time. The man was wearing navy blue jeans and a belt of the same color with a golden buckle. He was wearing boots that were a few shades lighter than his pants. The boots came up to mid-shin and seemed to be packed as if they were fashioned out of thick leather. Around the ankle of the boots was a golden band, and the heels and toes of the boots were a dull gold. He was wearing lavender gloves and had a full mane of spiky hair that seemed to add another 5 inches to his height. His hair dangled down to past his shoulders, but it didn't seem to bother the man. He wore no shirt, but it wasn't needed as, over the man's chiseled torso, grew crimson red hair that seemed to go down his entire arms. Oddly enough, the hair didn't grow on his pectorals, or the top half of his abdomen. But the biggest surprise about this man was the crimson furred tail jutting out of his tailbone. As he approached Naruto, the man said, "What do you mean? This could be it." Although Naruto didn't know who the man was, he chose to respond to him because he was leaving. I don't think I can, cough, cough, cough. Go on, Naruto said in a voice that was hardly audible above a whisper. I can hardly breathe at all. I've reached my limit. I think I'm going to die here. The man's disdain appeared to deepen, and he uttered the words, "Unacceptable." What? Said Naruto. The man remarked, "You are sadly mistaken if you believe that I will stand by and watch as one of my descendants, so one to whom I gave favor, dies in battle against a mere mortal. Raise your pitiful self and fight." As Naruto put it, I can't. Don't tell me you can't, boy, the man said. Do you think this is bad? Do you believe that a minor stab wound to the chest and a concussion will end the fight? Get up. Raised by an overbearing harpy, I've witnessed a sheltered, whiny little boy your age get his arm pretty much blasted off and still fight to the death. Third rate Saiyan grunts were the ancestors of that boy. The denizens of hell will rise up and dance to show tunes before I accept you giving up, because your blood is infused with the Saiyan royal line. Naruto replied, but, cough, 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 but my demonic powers are. To hell with your demonic powers, yelled the man. How are your Saiyan abilities? What about the abilities that decades of death and bloodshed have bestowed upon you? We have all been through too much for you to throw in the towel because of a few Busa your father, my son, and I. You are not merely a mere mortal. You are the prince of all Saiyans, Naruto Namikaze. Every Saiyan watches and views your life in heaven and hell as an example of what they are capable of. Of what they are capable of. You're spitting on everything I've gone through for you to be here at all if you give up now. Everything that my son Trunks endured is being spit on by you. You're spitting on everything that your father and every other Saiyan have experienced. Now wake up and show these two inbred jerks what happens when you decide to fight the Prince of Saiyans with a stupid idea. Naruto would never be able to explain it, and he would never understand it, but he felt powerful at that moment. The throbbing in his hand seemed to go away until it stopped entirely, his head became clearer, the dagger in his chest began to rise up as the wound healed from the inside out, and his breathing began to improve. It was as if he realized something he had never realized before. That people up there and down there were watching over him, encouraging him, and hoping for his success. Someone out there cared for him. They could call him crazy, but at that moment, he seemed to sense their care. He looked up and saw the translucent outline of a lavender-haired man in a similar jacket staring down at him, glaring as if he was waiting for his favorite scene in a TV show to start. A woman with blue hair smiling down at him, a carbon copy of the man next to him, but with a goatee, giving him the kind of glare that Naruto imagined a father would give a son who gave up on something before trying his hardest. And finally, a man who looked like an older version of himself, complete with black hair and eyes, nodding silently. At that moment, Naruto realized that he could sense them all. They were watching him and hoping he would succeed. They were all hoping he would succeed. They were all hoping he would succeed. They were all hoping he would succeed. And the people of hell would get up and dance to show tunes before he ever led them down. Naruto was unaware of the golden glow emanating from his body, which caught the attention of Miroku and Kazuya, who stared in awe of what was happening. The glow was so intense that it glowed through the night like a giant star, drawing the attention of all the fighters below, including Hinata, who was flying at high speed in the direction of Juahachi town and could see the glow. The man chuckled as Naruto stood up, saying, "Now you're acting like my kid." Naruto's glow began to fade as he sat up, and when he stood up fully, it seemed to cover him like an aura. There was no limping or wincing, as if he had never been in the fight or stepped in the blood of the lamb. I was about to give up, Naruto said, laughing at the man's remark. I was on the verge of giving up. The pain, the wounds, the lamb's blood, all of it was becoming too much for me. However, you guided me. I didn't have to give in because of you. I was reminded of my identity by you. What if I lose my demonic powers? Death is the only thing that prevents a Saiyan from winning their battle, and I'm still a Saiyan. I'm going to win this one. Mostly, I'll win this battle for myself, but also for you, my ancestor Trunks, my father Minato, my great-uncles Goten, Gohan, and Goku. On this day, I swear that I will never back down, Naruto said, holding out his hand to where his sword was, and miraculously, it shot from its position to his hand, stunning Moroku and Kazuya, who were unaware of Naruto's speech. Naruto took his sword and cut deeply into his palm, making sure that a scar would remain. I make a commitment to never give up on this day. I will follow the Saiyan warrior's path on this day and uphold it until the day I die. I was reminded of who I am on this day and in this moment. And for that, Vegeta, I am grateful. Okay boy. Get on with the soap opera and get started on the ass-kickings, said Vegeta, with a smile. With a laugh, Naruto said, as you wish, Vegeta. After Vegeta's apparition disappeared, Naruto was left alone with Moroku and Kazuya. Kazuya managed to speak despite feeling odd and a little afraid by the aura that surrounded Naruto, saying, "So you're ready for us to deal you the final blow, huh demon spawn?" Naruto screamed at them, saying, "Fools, hit me with your best shot, and I'll give it back to you 1,000 times over." Kazuya smirked and lunged forward, swinging his sword to try to decapitate Naruto, but Naruto caught it not with his hand or the side of his arm, but with his thumb on one side of the blade and his index and middle fingers on the other, stopping the blade from moving, and he laughed, saying, "My turn." "Thank you, Kazuya," Naruto said, dropping into a fighting stance after appearing to vanish from Kazuya's view and then reappearing with his foot buried in Kazuya's chest after the kick sent Kazuya flying back. "I appreciate you pushing me to the edge so I could see that my actual boundaries are much higher. I appreciate you reminding me of who the hell I am, Kazuya. You and Moroku are about to encounter something that hasn't happened in this world since the Yondaime Hokage's passing. A real Saiyan hero." With a scream of rage, Naruto called forth all the energy he had left in his body and raised his head to the sky as his power level shot through the roof. With all that power, Naruto effortlessly became a Super Saiyan, but he felt different, not like he did when he ascended last night, as he did before that damn lamb's blood was poured on him. In some way, for however short a time, Naruto was back to full power. "What kind of demon sorcery is this?" yelled Kazuya. "Your demonic games should be nullified by this blood." With a laugh, Naruto remarked, "Have you ever considered the possibility that I am more than a demon?" Before they could figure out what he meant, Naruto vanished from view. They searched for him, but he reappeared between them in a perfect straddle in mid-air, kicking both of them simultaneously. Moroku recovered first, and Naruto avoided the punch like it was child's play. Naruto caught Moroku's final blow and held his arm. Looking into Moroku's eyes, Naruto saw Kazuya trying to kick him in the back of the head in mid-air, so he ducked, causing Kazuya to fly over him and strike Moroku. As they both fell, Naruto vanished and reappeared in the same spot, but this time, he was holding Moroku's dagger. "Make an effort to focus on your strengths. I'm going to enjoy gutting you like a fish and using your colon to hang you," Moroku said, giving him a fierce look. "You'll try," said Naruto. "You'll fail, too. That dagger was my father's," Moroku said, running at him and attempting to slash at him with the dagger. But Naruto focused ki on the spot to create a very dense ki shield, which broke the dagger on contact, leaving Moroku looking horrified. "You bastard, that was the dagger he used in the Third Shinobi World War. That dagger could not be replaced." Naruto replied, "Then he shouldn't have done something so stupid as give it to a weakling like you." When Moroku screamed in anger and attempted to strike Naruto across the face, Naruto grabbed his fist in one hand and crushed it, shattering the bones in Moroku's hands. Naruto then threw Moroku against a wall while continuing to hold onto the hand, then turned to face Kazuya and said, "Next." Kazuya snatched up his sword and charged at Naruto, letting out a battle cry as he did so. Naruto waited until the very last second and swung his sword at Kazuya's as hard as he possibly could, but it turned out that, as hard as he possibly could, was really hard, especially when that swing was enhanced by the powers of Super Saiyan. The swing ripped through Kazuya's blade like a hot knife through butter, leaving his sword missing the top half of it. Naruto then cut Kazuya twice more, both of which left deep gashes on his torso. He then leapt up and drove his knee into Kazuya's chest, easily breaking a rib as he landed. Naruto closed his eyes and said, "Thank you for watching over me, my family." Now that both of them were unconscious, he looked at his hand, where the scar he had carved had already healed and left the scar he desired. This would serve as a constant reminder of both one of his strongest and weakest moments in life. "I'll make you proud of me, I swear." Naruto seized Moroku and Kazuya and launched himself into the air, but as he was in midair, he He thought he heard a variety of voices saying, almost in unison, "We already are." After dropping the two fugitives off at the mayor's office, they were quickly cleared of any suspicion or charges. Hinata appeared to be warming up to Tenten. They were no longer required to hide out, and Naruto's situation was beginning to improve. Almost everything. Naruto tried to use Super Saiyan once more after dropping Miroku and Kazuya off, but his power was once again reduced to lamb blood. It appeared that the power boost he had received during the battle with Miroku and Kazuya was a one-time event, but Naruto wasn't upset about it, saying, "I'll just have to kick ass with the power I have now. I personally award these 7 ninja here, along with their one missing member, with Juahachi Town's Medal of Honor for courage above and beyond the call of duty," the mayor said as he stood atop a podium in front of the city hall in Juahachi Town the following day, alongside Naruto and the rest of his team. These medals serve as a tangible representation of Juahachi Town's gratitude and appreciation for everything you have done for us. In addition to apprehending the infamous Privaran gang leader, you also apprehended his 3 accomplices. You kept working even after our city turned against you and called you all outcasts. We will always be grateful for that. Following the mayor's speech, they all lined up and were given the Juahachi Town Medal of Honor, which was made of pure platinum and featured an image of the town's horizon with the sun rising over it. The characters for their names were located dead center on the opposite side of the medal, and the words, "Medal of Honor," were near the top edge. Naruto accepted the medal and moved to the front of the line with his fellow citizens, grateful for the praise he was getting. Following the awards ceremony, he and the other members of the group left for Konoha, carrying the unconscious and bound prison escapees. As they were traveling, Hinata tapped Naruto. "Hina-chan?" "Naru-kun, we need to discuss something," Hinata said. In order to avoid being overheard, Hinata and Naruto both excused themselves and then took off into the sky. "What's this about, Hina-chan?" "I've been considering the Tenten situation," Hinata stated. "Additionally, I've decided on it." "Hina-chan, I thought we put this behind us," Naruto moaned. "Not even a week has passed since our reconciliation." "I know," Hinata said. "However, after giving it some thought, I came to the conclusion that I couldn't be angry with Tenten because she fell for the same thing that I did. I have faith that you will always love me. However, that does not imply that you do not have space in your heart for other people." Naruto was caught off guard by Hinata's speech, saying, "Hina-chan, what exactly are you saying?" Hinata replied, "Naru-kun, if Tenten is okay with it, I'll have no problems with you dating both of us at the same time." "You must be kidding," Naruto said, his eyes expanding to the size of dinner plates. "Would you really accept that?" Naruto said, "But what about the long-term decisions, like marriage?" In response to Hinata's nod. "I am unable to wed 2 women. That isn't legal in any way." "I checked Naru-kun, Hinata said with a laugh. "The law book makes no mention of a person being able to marry more than 1 person. The lawmakers didn't appear to agree that it should have been enacted into law." "So you're really cool with me dating other women?" asked Naruto. Hinata replied, "As long as I say they're okay, and as long as you still love me at the end of the day, yes." Hinata laughed, thinking, "I think I might have broken him." Naruto was so stunned by the declaration that he just stood there, his mouth hanging open. After taking Naruto by the hand and pulling him back down to the group, they continued on their journey to Konoha, with Naruto remaining silent. A few hours later, the group came to a halt for the night, and Neji leaned over to Hinata and remarked, "You told him you were okay with him dating Tenten, didn't you? Do you have ESP or something?" Hinata asked Neji, narrowing her eyes in bewilderment. Neji simply laughed and proceeded to Hinata's bag, opening it and searching through it until he discovered her copy of the Konoha law book. Although it wasn't strictly necessary, Hinata had been studying law in her spare time because, after all, she was the heiress to the Hyuga clan, and it would be useful to know where her jurisdiction began. Neji said, "Can I borrow this for a moment?" Neji approached his teammate, who was looking through her arsenal of weapons and sneaking peeks at Naruto, and tossed the book to her, saying, "Check out what I previously told you." Hinata nodded. "If you are, Hinata is cool with it." Tenten wondered, what the hell did he mean by that? As Neji turned around and walked away. Tenten flipped to the marital section of the book and began reading it as he remembered what he was talking about. She read about prenuptial agreements, civil unions, and property ownership, and when she finished, she found herself thinking, what the hell did Neji mean by reading it? I didn't see a single thing about how I can be with Naruto while he's with. That's when it hit her like a ton of bricks. Tenten turned back and read the entire thing twice, thinking, there's nothing about polygamy in here. There's not a law against it. Wow, I thought there would be. When Tenten got up and moved to where Hinata and Naruto were seated, Hinata noticed her and smirked knowingly, saying, Did you realize what Neji has been pushing us to see for the last week? Tenten chuckled softly and replied, yes. He has this whole knowing and enigmatic persona that can be really annoying. After snorting, Hinata said, you're telling me, you're not required to live with him. In Tenten's words, I do not envy you. After both girls laughed about it, Tenten became serious and asked Hinata, what are your thoughts on this? I'm okay with it if you are, Hinata shrugged. Really? Asked Tenten. You're not angry, are you? Naru.kun here is an amazing man, and the love of my life, Hinata said, shaking her head and taking Naruto's hand. You love him for the same reasons that I do, so I can't really blame you for that. I'm confident that he has enough space in his heart for us both. Tenten said, Naru.kun, turning to face Naruto. When she called Naruto, he said, Ten-chan, will you be my boyfriend? Tenten asked. When Naruto regained consciousness after noticing a hint of fear in Tenten's eyes, he took her hand, met her eyes directly, and said, I'd love to. Tenten released a breath she was holding, fearing that he would say, no. For a moment, she threw herself into Naruto's arms and gave him a hug, to which Naruto replied, so we're officially a couple now. Tenten withdrew from the embrace to meet Naruto's gaze and uttered the words, no, we're not. With a perplexed expression, Naruto uttered, we're not? Nope, Tenten said with a smile, this still needs to be done. When Hinata saw them, she could only be happy. They both began to moan a little from the sensation of their wrestling tongues. And Tenten ended the kiss before she did something she couldn't take back. Tenten grabbed the back of Naruto's head and pulled him in for a fiery lip lock. Naruto was initially shocked, but he leaned in and began to return the kiss. He sighed and said, I've been wanting to do that for 2 months now. When Naruto said, ditto, and embraced her, Hinata stepped forward and followed suit. As they hugged, Naruto realized that Tenten didn't know a lot about Hima. In fact, he hadn't had time to tell Hinata about some things because of their fight. Naruto took the two girls to his tent, where he told them about all the things in his life that they were unaware of. The girls were shocked by the experiences, but Tenten's opinion of him actually grew. As they spent the night together, Naruto fell asleep, thinking, it's not so bad being me. So, this is where the heir has been all this time. Who would have thought he'd be hiding in the human world of all things? Was the only thought running through the beings' minds as Naruto went to sleep, not feeling like he had two sets of eyes on him, watching him like a predator watches its prey.
That's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this great story. See you in the next one.